We're gonna start with several of them that I can rant a little bit about. I never actually played Diablo myself. Well, I did. Okay, I did play Diablo 3, but I didn't play Diablo 4 specifically. So there's that. Okay, cool. Now, first video. We're gonna be watching first video of the fucking day. For some reason, which for some reason is wrong order. Anyway, we're gonna watch the whole Actman's fucking Diablo 4 saga. I think I can provide some input from my standpoint based around what I see here and what I've seen while watching people play the game myself. And what I can say, as not exactly a fan of ARPGs. I'm not exactly a fan of ARPGs. I'm not really one to grind for loot. I'm not really one to go like, oh, I need to do this big piece of big gun to get another big gun. I don't give a shit. So that's part of the reason why I never really got into big online games such as Diablo series. Where part of the fun is just like, oh, I need to get this big ass mace of deadly butthole or something. I don't know, and so it's very much something I am a very much an outsider to, right? And so I'm actually really curious. Why is Diablo 4 so bad? Like, why is the comparison? Because I can't really tell for sure why I think it's bad, right? I think it's just bad because I don't like it, right? I don't like that kind of series. I don't like that kind of games. But I want to see what a person who might like the game think about it, right? It's absolutely okay to suggest videos.
I never expected to hear big ass mace of the deadly butthole, but I like the sound of it.
I mean, it's just something that came up on the spot. What do you mean? What do you want from me? But yeah, ultimately, that's the cause, the desire for me to realize, to see what is happening with the Diablo saga here, because not a fan.
And Diablo 4 is a money-sucking scheme from the higher-up from the company.
It seems like it, yeah. Because there is the usual how it's called. There's the usual battle pass, then the usual cosmetics. There's everything. Okay, let's just start the video for this time because I'm curious. So
this is the Christian man.
Hello, Christian man.
Today, I'm really disappointed.
Hello, really disappointed. I am the observer.
Like more so than usual.
More so than usual.
Diablo 4 started off so strong. Blizzard hooked
Did it?
me in. I was invested in the story, in the gameplay. But
I
guess I wasn't a fish worth catching. I'm just a lowly sea bass in Animal Crossing, worth only 120 bells. I guess the
That's an interesting analogy to things, honestly. Watching TV anyway.
Unfortunately, all I really watch on are indie animators and streamers.
That's fair. I watch a lot of various things, and today I will be not only watching, but also rambling about it. So feel free to stay around and listen to me if you want to, but that's fine if you don't. Okay.
I use this analogy is because I've accepted that I'm no longer the target demographic of Diablo.
Same.
Games. I've realized that Blizzard ain't making these games for people with my kind of interests. In truth, the taste of modern gamers has evolved and changed, and Diablo is more
unfortunately
than it's ever been.
Very unfortunately, the taste of gamers these days are shit. I'm just gonna say it right now. The taste of the gamers today are fucking shit. I feel like an old man when I talk about it, but like, excuse me, maybe the game did not have groundbreaking graphics and did not cost like $1 bajillion to make, and didn't make anyone go insane over crunch and kill themselves. Sorry to YouTube, but it's like no, I think a lot of the bullshit that is happening right now is absolutely not worth it. Like, okay, sure, graphics are amazing, sure, even though that's very doubtful in my case. Like, not every graphic is amazing. Diablo 4 looks like a Diablo 3, but like edgier. That's basically what it looks like. I don't know. Maybe I just don't have what it takes to be accepting of the fact that every game is released on the AAA market is a money laundering scheme. Maybe I just don't have it in me to accept it.
But that doesn't necessarily mean the games are better than they've ever been, and I'll die on that cross. So yes, you read the title
same.
right. I don't like Diablo 4, and I think it's a bad video game.
Maybe debatable about that. It's not. Maybe it's like a bad video game for.
Oh, Danny Sal, you're trying to trick Theo, aren't you?
What are you talking about like that? Daddy Cell speaks about himself in third person.
That is my personal opinion.
Personal
You enjoy
opinion.
this game, don't let me change your mind.
Yeah, that's fair. If you enjoy modern gaming, don't let me change your mind. Same here. Same thing here.
Personally, I think good graphics is not worth declines in other areas.
Personally, I agree. That's not worth it. Not worth it. Decline in morality. Not worth decline in general production quality. Not worth it in crunch time and spent nerves of these developers you saw people claim to love so much. It's not worth it at all. Like, and even then, it's not worth complete degradation of talent and moral qualities of every person who makes games on a grand scheme of things. Because people can tell whatever they want. Oh, the game costs so much nowadays. Games cost so much that having $70 cosmetics in a game that is already $70 is totally justified because people need money. No, people don't need money. That's a very wrong assumption. People need money to make games, but people don't need all the money. The executives need all the money. The investors need all the money. The developers need just money, some money. It always was enough to pay $70 or $60 or $50 for a game. It was enough. And it was enough to pay DLCs. It was enough for all of that. But now it's not enough because people are fucking brainwashed into believing that buying another yacht to Bobby Kotick is equating supporting the developers.
And okay.
If there's one thing I love,
Wait, hold on.
it's the sight of blood.
You know,
Diablo 4, there are
I actually think I like this game.
Good
I'm not
good
here to
ad,
police
good
your
ad.
entertainment. You like what you like, that's fine by
I
me,
remember
man.
when $15 games were the norm.
I do also remember that, Frederick. I also remember that very well, and that haunts me in my dreams every day.
What I'm here to do is whine, bitch, moan, and complain into the ether like an old man.
That's all. Honestly, that's half of our job as content creators. We need to do that into the algorithm, just in case. Just in case.
Like an ancient Haradrim who can't understand why everyone's forgotten the old ways.
Oh, the old ways. Oh, man. This makes me feel old.
I really wanted to like Diablo 4, but the longer I played it,
Honestly,
the more I came
same.
to despise it.
I kind of wanted to like the Diablo-thon genre of things. Kind of wanted to like the Diablo-thon, quote unquote, where you go around, loot things, and just enjoy yourselves and like smash a bunch of enemies to pieces. I wanted to
Play
like.
Warhammer now because it's cheaper than modern gaming.
Yeah, true. You know what? I'm also a Warhammer player. I'm also a Warhammer
Anyway,
player.
I have to step away. I will be back soon.
Okay, see you around, Frederick. But anyway, I also am a Warhammer player. I have seen prices, and I have seen people lose a lot of things from their wallets just to get enough units for an army. The fact that people are saying confidently that the modern gaming is now less expensive than Warhammer 40k's miniature collection is really telling. It's really telling. I spent a fucking fortune on my orc army. And still, yeah, I agree. I could spend a lot more money on a single game that will give me nothing of satisfaction except, I don't know, what? Nothing really.
Before we jump into hell, this video is sponsored by Rocket Money, an all-in-one finance platform.
Good job.
that
You know
helps
what?
save
Sure, let's
more
listen to
and
it.
Spend less. This finance app allows you to manage subscriptions, lower bills, build a custom budget, and grow your savings all in one place. What I love about Rocket
Good
Money is
job.
it keeps track of all of my recurring monthly payments,
Yeah.
so I don't have to go to 1,000 different places to see what I'm spending all the time. It makes it very quick and easy to manage and or cancel them.
They
I
haven't seen a
guarantee you
single The
everybody
Lion
watching
model
this is
price
paying
yet.
some kind of monthly subscription that they shouldn't be or don't need to.
To be fair,
Rocket
that's a
Money can
lion.
help lower your bills, and you can monitor your spending by setting up custom budgets. No
I
more
think
gambling my life
I don't
savings on
even need to
CS
say
skins,
anything.
am
That's
I
just-
right, fellas? I also like to use Rocket Money to avoid
That's the
paying
lion.
taxes. Just kidding. I love the government. To save more and spend less, join the 3.5 million.
Thank you,
members
thank you,
using Rocket
Ackman. I
Money
don't have to
today.
make an
And your
excuse
boy
about it.
has got the hookup. So go to rocketmoney.com/Ackman or click the link in the description to get started for free.
Okay.
That's rocketmoney.com/Ackman
Yep,
to
yep,
get
yep.
started for free.
Okay.
Now for something completely different.
Okay. Oh, XC exploded.
So,
Cool.
Let's start with the positive.
Let's start with the
Combat in
positive.
Diablo 4 is very fluid and fun overall.
I've seen that. I agree with that. Combat is one of the strongest parts of Diablo. Everything you do feels very impactful. I played Diablo 3. I played Diablo 4 a little bit. I played during the open beta. Didn't stream it, but I did play it. And it was very, 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 very rewarding to play in a lot of ways. Like, smashing tons of enemies was cool. It's just... It's not a thing I can do for eternity, right? It's not a thing I can see myself doing for next year or 2 years or something like that. But for the time it was the open beta, I was like, yeah, it's cool. I enjoy it. Cool beans. Good combat, very weighty. Though it's a little too easy in my case, in my opinion. It's a little too easy. Like, enemies die if, like, from one poke at them, right? It's just like... Is it really continuously rewarding when the challenge never really increases, no matter how much you go through the play? And I don't know, it's not really for me. Same thing applies, honestly, to Final Fantasy XIV when I played it in Realm Reborn. I just smashed through all of the obstacles, pretty much, except like one or two fights where I needed to like restart once for reasons of being a caster, which is a squishy squish. But yeah, I'm not sure. Like in Final Fantasy XIV, I had the whole thing with the story. That the story kept me going. The story kept me advanced. It didn't really matter in my case that there was the no challenge situation. That didn't really matter to me. In this case, Diablo 4, I don't think the story is really worth it because I did play it and there was story. But it was just kind of like a check mark to check mark to check mark to check mark. You go here, check mark. The character says something. I don't even remember characters. It's just like you go to the other part of the area. You get like a single. You get like a dialogue explained by people who I don't know and don't care about, and you go to another part of the world, and it's just like smash nth amount of enemies for whatever reason, kind of thing.
It feels good to slaughter hordes of demons with lightning bolts. Now, I didn't play much of 3, but between Diablo 1, 2, and 4, this one might have the best enemy design in the series.
Fair.
Or at least the most interesting. In the early game, leveling up is extremely satisfying. When I saw this big skill tree for the first time, I just thought, I can't wait to max this out. And one thing I really do appreciate is that boss fights are more about dodging attacks instead of like the classic brute force. Is my number bigger than that boss's number? You know? Because it adds a much better emphasis on skill and strategy. A lot of boss fights in D1 and D2 were battles of attrition that could get pretty tedious. Now, I played as a druid, and all the abilities were cool, flashy.
Played Necromancer. I played Necromancer. I enjoyed the aesthetic of a Necromancer myself. I enjoyed the aesthetic of the whole fighting for things, fighting the enemies with the minions, with an end minions thing situation of summoning undead minions, trying to enjoy myself like with that. Yeah, I enjoyed that. Fuck hell.
And felt awesome to use.
Yeah.
The game certainly fulfills the power fantasy many are looking for in a Diablo.
I don't really look for power fantasy. I think that's the problem with me. That's the problem with me in Diablo games, and me and any game whatsoever. I don't look for power fantasy. I don't give a shit about power fantasy. I don't really want to be the strongest ever to ever exist. I don't play the games for that. That's I guess that's why I'm not really as much focused on, say, competitive games, right? Because it's like I guess I can play them, right? I guess I can play them. I guess I can enjoy them. That's not really a problem for me. The problem for me is that eventually the being the very best no one ever was, it's like not a situation I want to have. I want to engage in a story. I want to engage in a singular narrative, right? That goes from point A to point B. That's those points I want to cross, and that's it. I'm dropped out. Like, I'm not going to go back and do New Game Plus. I don't want to do drop back and do like a special super run or something like that, or no damage run. I don't do that.
Diablo title, and I appreciate that Blizzard tried to return Diablo to its gothic horror roots.
Tried to.
Of fucking Disney cartoon art style they came up with for Diablo 3. So I think with the core gameplay, they've succeeded. Now, before we get into the real shit, let's discuss some minor complaints.
Minor, yeah.
For one, Diablo 4 is a modern video game.
Modern video
Features
game.
that people really love and appreciate
No, we don't.
in modern games.
No, we don't. Most people don't really love and appreciate those games. You're delusional.
Which means it has to be always online just to shove half-assed MMO mechanics in a game that basically has no social features and virtually no reason for players to interact with each other.
Absolutely.
It's so easy to create a community.
No.
It,
No. Even in MMOs these days, there's so much convenience in terms of how you interact with the world and content that it is so incredibly hard to actually give a shit about any other player. I played Final Fantasy XIV. Not a single person ever invited me to a party. Not a single person ever stuck around me because they were all doing their own bullshit. They all ran around. They all do their own bullshit. I walked in the world. People passed me without a single thought. Nobody created a community, quote unquote. The only reason people create a community, quote unquote, is because they want to show off their fun loot and cool stuff they acquired, or maybe showcase the results of their dedication to a game or something like that. I don't really know if that's called a community or maybe like or is it the same thing as walking into a game shop with your super epic extra uber mega Yu-Gi-Oh deck that you just want to wreck everyone's shit with.
it makes Diablo more of a social experience.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
It's not.
Always online also means if the servers get fucked, then so do you.
Yeah.
It's like Blizzard literally learned nothing from Diablo 3. You know, when
They
I
didn't.
see someone lose their hardcore character after...
If it's not broken, don't learn from it. And people made sure that Blizzard think it absolutely is not broken. People absolutely make sure to believe that, to make them believe that. Thank you. Sorry. It's what's not broken, don't fix it. That is the corporate attitude about things. People can whine and bitch wherever they want, right? It's just, unfortunately, most people don't watch YouTube to watch us moan and bitch about it. That's unfortunately not the truth. Not something people do. And I doubt that my own whining into the ether will stop them from doing whatever they want to do, because people buy this. People give them money.
into it, and they lose
What can I say?
because of a server issue and
Yeah.
not a skill issue.
Yep.
Yeah,
People accept it easily. People accept it for some reason easily. That you just don't have the internet. Yeah, because that's for sure the reason, you privileged motherfucker.
Noise. That's bullshit. At first, I thought it was pretty cool that they added a horse into this game until I unlocked the horse. I mean, it's so janky. It takes
Yeah,
like
I do
10
agree.
seconds to warm up its engine.
It's
before
kinda
it
weird to
starts
use.
running. Like what the fuck? Hey yeah, hey yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, giddy up, you bastard. Okay,
Okay.
there it goes. Okay, now on to the real shit. Diablo 4, for me, contains two crippling, fun-ruining flaws.
Interesting clip to
Flaws
use.
so important that if changed, I would continue playing the game without question.
Okay.
Number one, the difficulty.
Yeah. Difficulty. I don't know what he's gonna say about it. Definitely have no idea what he's gonna say about it at this point, right? But yeah, yep. Yep. That is the thing I noticed immediately. The difficulty is maybe I'm just like I'm not even like a hardcore gamer myself. Like I'm not. I already told you I'm not. I'm not too good for them. I'm not like, but I also don't have the time. I don't have the time to do bullshit. Is that like a copy pasta? Like, is that like a
After
hobby?
watching Zepla HQ, Mtaki Capture, Arthars,
Okay.
Savix,
Okay.
Matsui Zikai,
Okay.
Esmungold,
Okay.
Jack Kuglin FFX of YouTube's
Okay.
videos. YouTube's recommended me your streams.
Welcome, I guess. Welcome. If you're gonna stay around, welcome. We're doing some modern gaming discussion, basically, which is interesting. How you doing today? But yeah, what was my thought before? Yeah, right. I'm not even like a hardcore gamer, right? I'm not. I don't do the whole hardcore gaming thing situation, right? And I just I don't. I'm not like good at games either, right? I'm not super epic gamer, man. That's super epically just too good for the games, right? And still, I find myself utterly bored by the game eventually when I play Diablo 4. I just find myself bored. It's like, wow, you should have to make the game really underwhelming to make me really think it's not hard or interesting to play. You have to really try. Like you have to really try. That has to be like a big attempt to do so. This has to be like a very valiant desire from your side. Oh my god. Okay, let's listen to what he just saying.
The skills. Let's start with difficulty.
Don't know about
I
that.
stopped playing at level 48 after beating the campaign. Now, you can run down to the comments section and tell me what a casual scrub I am, that I need to play on World Tier 3.
Absolutely.
How Diablo 4 starts to get fun and challenging after I beat the game and reach level 50.
I'm absolutely waiting for people. If I'm gonna be honest, if I was any more popular than I am right now, I would be absolutely waiting for people to just drop by into the comments of this VOD or the video I'm gonna post eventually from this whole thing into the channel, and it's just like, oh, secretly you're all you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, yeah, sure, guys. I haven't played the game. I haven't played games for 20 years. For you to fucking assume that I'm not, I am not aware of what I'm talking about. I know what's fun. I know what's not fun. I know what works. I know what doesn't work. I know a predatory fucking bullshit when I see one, and I don't. I think I see, and I know a good game. And with the moral standards, when I see one, the fact that you don't see it is very depressing.
And if you're thinking that, you've just proven my point.
Yeah.
Why do I have to dump 30 hours into Diablo 4 simply
You just played for 100 hours. It's gonna get better. It's gonna get better. Fuck off.
to unlock a difficulty option that suits my skill and experience? Well, because that's how it's always been, Act Man.
Yeah,
You're
absolutely.
right. The big differences in Diablo 1 and 2, the games weren't this easy. And D2 had some extreme difficulty spikes. The base game is so
Kinda sad.
ridiculously easy that by the time I got to
Yeah.
the climactic finale in Hell, I was bored out of my mind, begging
I didn't get the climactic finale of the game because I got bored halfway through.
for it to end. After an experience like that, why the hell would I keep playing? I did end up
And to be fair, it was a beta, so I couldn't physically get to it either.
doing the first capstone dungeon, and for whatever reason, that was like a light switch. It's like, oh my god, I'm actually dying to boss mechanics and not just cheap gimmicks like hard crowd control that lock me in place for 5 seconds. I'm not exaggerating when I say every single death I had, besides this boss, was from hard crowd control.
To be fair, that is something I would say it's a part of the difficulty. It's fairly easy to avoid these kind of cheesy traps if you don't let them corner you. But though, to be fair, if you play in like super uncaring mode at this point, I think it's easy to it's basically really easy to assume that it's not gonna kill you because it's been so easy and it's just like surprises you a little bit.
the game had to stop
if you
from
underestimated
moving
it.
in order to kill
But
me.
you can't not underestimate it because it's like so easy in any other case. It's weird.
This capstone dungeon was like the highlight of my playthrough. Likely because I was
Haven't
under
reached it,
level
haven't
4.
played it. I
So
don't
why
want to
is
play
this
it.
game
I
so
don't have the
easy?
money to buy
In
it.
Diablo 4, literally everything scales with your level.
Cool.
The cost of items and upgrades, strength of enemies, gear.
That's not cool.
It's funny because every quest has a level recommendation next to it, yet it's always the same as your level. So
Why is that there? Why is that there? Is that a thing? Like, your level. Everything is your level. Why is there a level requirement? I don't. Is it like they just wanted to add fancy numbers in the end? Is that it? I guess that's it.
it's like, what's the point? This does provide some positive benefits. It makes it easy to play with friends of higher or lower levels. You don't have to worry about
sure.
your buddy who's played for 600 hours, one-shotting everything and robbing you of the gameplay experience.
Sure, sure.
Another nice touch is that you don't ever out-level quests, dungeons, or the main story.
Yeah, that's it. I suppose that's fair. Though I am a fan of games that allowing you to how do I say it? Allowing you to out level a certain encounter and thing in the world, because it's like you put in work, you did all the alternate encounters and all the side missions, you did everything you needed to do in this situation, and basically you crossed that threshold on your own outside of the current, and you should be able to be rewarded by the game for doing that with smashing their faces in, right? If you deliberately over leveled, right? That happened to me in my gacha game so far, because when I deliberately spent like 2 weeks grinding, and then I could proceed to smash my face against the wall and everyone dies, I appreciate it because I did put effort, I did put time into it. I'd like to see rewards.
So you can progress these things in any order you want. However, the drawbacks to the scaling difficulty are so flagrant and obvious, I can't believe more people aren't talking about them. Do you understand what it actually means for the entire game to scale with the player's level in an RPG? It means that the challenge stays virtually the same from start to finish.
Yep, and not only that, you don't feel any increase in power whatsoever. It's like you play D&D. Let me bring D&D in question. You play D&D, and then you face off against a dog, single dog, right? And you fight long and hard as a 5-year-old level 1 farmer with a pickaxe. I don't fucking know. And then you go around and become the ultra super heroic multi-class epic warlord with like 5 attacks per round and like a smite, like a triple smite, and you just come back into your village, right? And you see that same fucking dog, right? And you go approach the dog and you're like, I want to take revenge for all the fucking bullshit, the feral dog, and I want to take revenge for all the bullshit you did to me as a kid, and now I'm gonna attack the dog. And the DM now smiles and says, the dog goes first. It attacks you 10 times. It does 20d20, 20d2, 20d10 damage with its crit of 554, and it applies smite to its attack. Like it's scaled up completely with your level. The DM just sat there and scaled it up completely to your level, matching, and now it's just as much of a struggle as it was now at level 1 when you were a 5-year-old fucking farmer with a pickaxe. And now it's just as much of a struggle with you being the epic endgame warlord. Would you feel satisfied? Would you feel satisfied about that? I don't think you would. That's the point. You won't. Even it doesn't really get the power fantasy going either, right? Unless the enemies always are underpowered and always are weak, right? You either want to do that. In both cases, if the enemies are challenging and they scale to your level, you will never feel any success, any progress. And if the enemies are weak and they still scale with your level, you never feel any challenge. There is neither of those extremes work in this scenario. Neither. That's just not works. To be fair, though, it does work for some people. Some people just like that kind of stuff, but it does not work here, like at all. So I don't know. Motherfucker. It does not work at all. Okay.
Why is this a problem? Well, it's going to take a good long while to explain.
Okay.
The only available difficulty option is easy as balls. Then you'll be begging for the sweet release of
It
death.
depend. Like for a looting game, then it's bullshit, but in Soul game, then it normal.
Yes. Soul game, you kind of Souls games are kind of tuned for you to be how do I say it? For you to experience the challenge, because a lot of the tuning in that game, it doesn't really go around levels. You can pass the game level 1 easily. People pass the game easily level 1 if they have enough talent and enough skills. I have seen people go outside of the gates and then smash the head of the golden tree guardian that was prancing around while being completely naked and with a club. It's possible to do. It's not impossible to do that, right? But the thing about this is, in looting games, the level largely relies on the level of your gear, level of your ability. Like it or not, looting games are usually number versus number, right? So when it's not number versus number, and you feel like whatever gear you apply, whatever things you get, they do not have any impact whatsoever on your performance, and the fact that you're doing more damage to it without it than with, like it was with Anthem. There was a game, Anthem, if anyone remembers it. It was a game that existed. And hilariously enough, it was so weirdly broken and tuned that when you had a starter weapon, you did more damage percentage-wise to the enemy, to the epic end game level enemies than when you do when you equip an end game weapon, because it did percentile damage. It scaled like that. That's how you can completely ruin an experience if you don't adjust it correctly. So in my opinion, I feel like there needs to be some sort of balance. Yeah.
I think you miss my point. Like the Soul games don't need to rely the number
Yeah,
too
yeah.
much, but the looting game is different.
Yeah, I do agree. I do agree on that. That's. I'm agreeing with you, Bami. I'm agreeing with you. That was me just agreeing with you. It's just a long overdue rant. Souls games, they don't need to rely on numbers because it's all about talent of the player. It's all about remembering the patterns, doing all that stuff. Looting games rely on numbers, hence why level tuning and level adjusting is just not working. It doesn't work. It really doesn't.
Now we're gonna be
Okay, it works for a certain specific group of people, and I will say you which group of people it works for. The bot farmers. That's what it works for.
comparing Diablo 4 to Diablo 1 and 2 and to World of Warcraft a lot. While WoW and D4 are different kinds of games, the core mechanics that make an RPG fun and satisfying to...
I feel like the core mechanics that make a looter RPG fun is always the same. No matter what people say, people will defend it vehemently and say, oh, it's not the same, it's not the same. Those are not the same game. No, it's the same game. It's ultimately, on basic level of game development, is the same game. It's the same game loop. You go in, you do a thing gives you loot. You equip loot, you get bigger numbers, you get bigger level, and you go do another thing and kill it and get loot. Everything else is a fucking set dressing. Everything else is set dressing. If you break down MMOs, ARPGs, and other things to its basic core level, it's absolutely the same game design. I don't really know why people think it's not.
grind, I feel, are the same. So let's imagine if World of Warcraft was more like Diablo 4.
As a Destiny player, I feel in called out face in clouds.
I'm not, but yeah, it's like I feel like people forget that when you design a game, you ultimately have to look at it from the most basic bitch level. What is the game loop? What is the 20 seconds that you want to experience, right? That is looped over and over and over and over and over. In Destiny and in Diablo, the 20-second loop is you approach things go rar, you shoot thing or stab thing die, thing drop cool stuff. You pick up cool stuff. Cool stuff is bigger stick that you can stab/shoot something. You proceed to do so. You proceed to do the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. There is other systems, there is other things, there is other players in some cases, but ultimately, if you break it down, same thing. So MMOs and ARPGs is fundamentally the same fucking thing.
You just spent a bunch of time grinding levels, doing dungeons,
Yeah,
raids,
sure.
getting the best gear, becoming stronger. You go back to the starting area, and guess what? That boar you fought at level 2 takes just as many hits to kill as when you're level 70.
See, that just does not feel right. Does not feel right at all.
Do you feel like a badass in this situation?
No.
No, you'd feel like an asshole. Like you just got duped into wasting your time playing an RPG that fooled you into thinking you were growing and getting stronger.
But you
Now,
weren't.
Sure, you'd certainly have more abilities at level 70 than 2, but the point is when you level up in Diablo...
You feel like a jackass every time. Like, you want to be stronger. You want to be like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna go. Like, sure, it doesn't really feel nice to go around and one-shot enemies, right? But just for the sake of that experience of like, oh, I finally reached like level 50 from level 1. I want to go and test my mettle against the level 10 boss that I faced at the start of the game. That gave me so much trouble, right? And then you approach the level 10 boss, and level 10 boss is actually a level 50 boss. Maybe it drops more loot or something. Maybe it just gives you more stuff, right? But it still doesn't make sense to me, personally. It doesn't really.
Before, you don't get stronger.
Yeah.
Enemies do, and you receive a skill point to deal with it. So
Yep.
because the challenge is consistently easy from start to finish, I was basically playing this game on autopilot. And if I wanted a game I could turn my brain off and play, I'd grind RuneScape. Diablo is an action RPG. I want action. I want something that's fun, exciting, and fraught with danger. And if it's
Yep.
got some spooky, scary moments, that's a huge plus too.
Yep.
This level scaling mechanic is one of the most fucked up things I've ever seen in an RPG.
Yeah, same.
It goes beyond simply making the moment-to-moment combat stale and repetitive. And you might be thinking, well, man, what about Oblivion and Skyrim? Well, that's a lot different because you have some control over the difficulty.
Yeah.
And the scaling only affects the types of enemies you encounter. So it's a lot different.
Ultimately, I feel like that's what it comes down to. Certain people enjoy this kind of gameplay, right? They just want to turn their brains off, want to go in and just shoot a bunch of things, right? Or like stab them in this case, in Diablo case. And they don't want to be challenged at all. A lot of people in this game, in this day and age, they don't really care for challenge as much. I've seen more and more people whine and bitch about the fact that they cannot pass certain levels or something, and they expect the game to cater to them and give them the easy mode so they can just go through with it without putting any effort, without putting any dedication to it or something like that, without really giving the game back, so to speak. And if you don't give the game back, you will not receive anything from the game. I that's personally what I think. I give all of my gachas a fair amount of attention. That all the gachas I play currently, I give them attention. I log in every day. I have the time to do it every day. Log in every day. I do the rolls. I do the things. I do it every fucking day. I do dailies. I level my characters. I basically prepare for the fact that every week or every other week I play the game, I'm gonna be ready to go in and do it, right? Every time. But it's just like, it's not... If I didn't do that, I would obviously suck at the game. I would obviously complain about it a lot. I would obviously not pass it. But if I do this, I pass the game. That's just easy. That's just how it is.
To be fair,
Although, to be fair, there's a lot of gacha games that are very fair to win, and you can just pay past it. I am in a situation where I cannot pay past it, even if I did have money. Because I live in a country where the Google shop does not work right now. It just does not work. So even if I wanted to whale, I can't. I am prohibited from whaling by the universe itself.
I think Diablo 4 excels in its enemy design. There's a ton of cool creepy demons like those spider hosts and the walking ball sacks that spawn flies. The Balrogs return, as do the Fallen. Everything fits a theme based on the area it's in, and I like that. Enemies can spawn in unique ways. They
Yeah,
unfreeze
same.
Yeah.
in the snowy areas or ambush you when you loot certain chests.
Oh wow, bears just spawn from the ground, huh? Okay.
Are flashy and fun to play around. Scaling fucks with the world and level design much more than you'd expect.
Yeah.
Because every corner of the game is now stuck at the same difficulty level. Therefore, no zone stands out or feels more challenging than the last.
Yep. A lot of the identity of, say, Caelid from Elden Ring, and I guess yeah, sure. Comparing Souls games to games like Diablo 4, I think that's a bit unfair. But I'm not comparing them right now as much as just explaining in detail what I find to be memorable about an area in a game of a different genre. I find Caelid memorable because every time you walked into it from the start of the game, it's a pain. It's so much pain. You walk in and everything wants to kill you, and everything causes bleed, and everything two-shots you if you're not careful, and everything is so tanky you probably won't be able to murder it immediately.
42-minute video _0.
Don't worry, Pengy. I have been rambling about this video. It's been a minute 96. I have been rambling for the last half an hour about this 10 minutes. I am absolutely fucking bonkers when it comes to reaction videos. I go wild. I talk way too much.
There is no sense.
Let's just continue.
Again, what if you took this scaling difficulty and added it to Elden Ring? What if you went to Caelid at the start?
Why is he using the same examples as me? X-Men.
You didn't get your ass whooped by those giant dogs.
Yeah.
Well, then that place wouldn't be as memorable.
Not.
The desolate atmosphere and red-tinted sky would betray the tone of Caelid. The land of Caelid would not have this stigma among Souls fans of being a challenging, oppressive area of the game. And that's what makes it stand out. You get what I'm saying?
Exactly. That's the thing about this. If you don't walk into the game and suffer, into the area and suffer, you will not remember it. That's the thing. We only remember the hardships we experienced. We experienced the hardships. We remember them. We go through them, and we go at the end, and it's like, oh, what a journey. All these fucking hardships I experienced at there. All the things I did. I did this. I killed this boss that killed me 15 times. I don't remember a boss I killed in one go. I remember the tree sentinel, which I had to try to kill for 6 hours. Over the game span, I tried to return the kill, did suck ass. Then be like, okay, no, maybe not now. Then have to do other things, then return back and go, okay, maybe now, and then suck ass and be like, maybe not now. And then only after a while I killed it, and his weapon became one of my most signature weapons for the playthrough of what game I played. And then I went in and murdered what's his face, Margit. I murdered Margit with it. With third attempt because I was so focused and I was so good at the game. I can't say I was good at the game by that point, but I was better at the game. Let's say it like that.
I'm saying when you give players far too much freedom to explore an open world and you don't gatekeep any sections of it, they end up having nothing to look forward to and nothing to go back to. The
world becomes very lacking in personality. The world lacks completely in any personality because of it. There's not even anything to say about it.
It feels like there's no rhyme or reason to what I'm doing in the world of Sanctuary, and it doesn't matter what order I do it in, so it all just feels the same to me. Is this making any sense?
Yep.
Or am I just talking?
It makes absolute sense. Diablat butthole.
You know how in Breath of the Wild, after leaving the tutorial, you could go straight to Ganon's castle? I mean, you'd stand no chance.
Untrue. People did it.
But that type of freedom is genius because you're given a sense of progression in the world and the different zones. You're not supposed to be here yet, but the designers still let you. I feel like this is just basic.
That's the thing. I feel like that's why gamer designers should allow more freedoms for people. People should allow more freedoms in RPGs, but also they should punish reckless action or reward extreme skill. In both of those cases, Caelid works the same. Ganon's castle works the same. If you defeated the game after just finishing tutorial, going straight to Ganon's castle and kill the Ganon, that's a feat. That's something you can legitimately record as a YouTube video and send it out and say people will applaud you, because that's fucking hard to do. If that were not the case, if you would just run into the Ganon's castle at the start of Breath of the Wild, and Ganon was level 1, would you find it fun? Okay, level 1. Ganon, Calamity Ganon with a wooden sword, level 1. Can't do like 80% of his attacks because he was scaled down to meet your level. The more if you give those examples of things, the more you realize how fucking flawed the system is, right?
Open world RPG design 101.
Mm-hmm.
You dangle a super hard boss,
Yep.
a tough enemy in front of you, and say, "Come back when you're stronger, bitch."
Or if you manage to kill said boss that is super hard, that is an achievement. You can basically go around and talk to everyone about, really.
There's plenty of examples. The anti-guy in Paper Mario, the
Yep.
skeletons next to Firelink Shrine, or
Yep.
the sword dancer in Tales of Symphonia.
Yep.
That's why going back to Slaughter the Tree Sentinel was so satisfying, because at that point you feel like you've grown stronger and gotten better at the game since he whooped your
Yes.
ass. And it's that
I always kind of found it fun how the Sentinel is just there. She's just vibing, just there. Like really, like right straight there. Like you don't need to go anywhere to find this boss because he's already there. He's already there. You don't need to find him. He's like right there. Big shiny gold target. Always found it fun.
An accomplishment that I tend to chase in RPGs.
Yep,
Unfortunately,
same.
in my 30 hours of playing Diablo 4, I never once had that feeling.
Yeah, I don't regret dropping it
These types
and never buying it.
of difficulty spikes, they just give me something to look forward to. I need a challenge I can't beat yet.
Yeah.
Or a super difficult optional boss thrown in my face. A forbidden area I can't access yet. That's what inspires me to grind and get better gear, to see more of the game, right? If you brought Diablo 4's version of scaled difficulty to other RPGs, you'd see how fucking atrocious it is.
Yes.
Like I
I already said that literally 30 seconds ago. God damn it.
capstone dungeon at level 48, so I was 2 levels below the recommended, and after 30 hours, like, this was the challenge I'm looking for. The
Yep.
boss is well designed. Dying to him made me pissed. I felt some tension every time I got close to killing him and was running low on healing potions. My
Yeah.
point is, why did I have to beat the game to start being challenged by it?
I don't get it. Like, that's the mentality. I don't get it. If you want for people to enjoy the game, those hardcore people you want to have, you need to make sure they enjoy the game immediately, because most of these people are old. Most of the people who want challenge are old. Most people who will stick with the game forever are old. They don't have the time to play 40, 50, 60 hours. They don't have the time for it because they have work, they have kids, they have whatever else. They don't have the time for it. If they don't enjoy the game immediately, they drop it. And people, and young people who have time, they don't have the fucking attention span at all. There's no attention span whatsoever. People will drop the game within the first half an hour. That is truth. That is fact. That is a proven fact. People, there has been an achievement exposing lots of people that basically indicated that not a lot of people passed like the first hour of the game. And then there's a lot of people who played this amount, and there was like they posted reviews, seemingly forgetting that the fact that they are not, that their view count is very visible, actually. That the amount of time they played is very visible, actually. And most people don't do that, really. They don't post reviews because they know that. So, but they just basically quietly uninstall it and don't play it ever again, or most likely refund it because people can refund it on Steam specifically. Yeah. And it's just so obnoxious that people think that a lot of developers think that they are still in that era where everyone had the time, and had the dedication to go through fucking many hours of bullshit to arrive somewhere where they would start enjoying the game.
Remember how simple Diablo 1 was? There were 16 levels. Each one got progressively more difficult and was filled with different and tougher enemies. The soundtrack and visuals would change as you got closer to Diablo's lair and hell itself. This is a very simple way to convey to the player that the challenge was evolving. This doesn't happen in Diablo 4.
Open world tends to have that problem because ultimately it's very hard to establish a certain pattern of things. You can't expect a player to go through the world in exactly the same way you intend to, right? So you sort of have to rely on different areas having their own identity and maybe level difficulty, question mark, to establish themselves as something. And that's unfortunately something you have to do. I'm not exactly sure how Diablo 4. I guess no, Diablo 4 can be done in the way if they just rip off the Elden Ring formula, where they have certain areas that are much higher level than everything else. Well, not much, but just much. And you just go from one level to one level in terms of story, and you level along, and you still feel the challenge everywhere, right? But it's not. But it's also possible to maybe outscale it a little bit. I don't know. Either way, I feel like it should be more rewarding for you to get the super secret, super good loot instead of I'm gonna walk over there now. And it's the same challenge and the same level of difficulty as if you go directly into the Diablo's lair and just like murder Diablo. That's gonna be the same level of difficulty. Everything was just adjusted to you, which is funny because they already do have that shit when they have the storyline that goes across multitude of areas. But it's like, okay, I don't really know what they're thinking, really, and I can't really understand what the game philosophy here. I really don't.
When you go to hell, the challenge will be the same. It's like, this is a game about fighting the forces of fucking hell, slaying demons. I'm not the Doomslayer. I can't be the scariest thing in the game. I want it to be challenging. I want to run into some big fuck-off demon that whoops my ass. Blizzard likes to remind everyone that Diablo 4 was going back to its roots. They say darkness has returned.
Well, the initial direction was Diablo 2.
The art direction for Diablo 4 is really rooted in this idea.
I hate these videos. Like, I genuinely do hate these videos. They have this super epic cheesy music playing in the background always, and they sit down several developers and talk in such a how to say it, such a wishy-washy way that basically says they talk a lot and they say nothing. It's basically a PR move of let's talk exactly let's go down the bullet points of everything people want to hear. It goes back to the dark roots. It's now challenging. You can what they were saying.
Delivering on the fantasy of a dark Gothic medieval world.
Yeah, delivering on the fantasy of a dark Gothic medieval world. Like, they have all this whatever else they have. Some fucking idiot in the PR department sat down and just compiled the list of things they have to say in these videos, and they had to like add super serious, super try-hardy violin music in the background to really empathize it, like to really focus on it.
The art direction of the game in general was darker and grittier, and Diablo 2 was kind of the inspiration.
We wanted to bring Diablo 4 artistically more back towards like Diablo 2, the much darker style.
Cool.
Major redesign to make them feel more grim, a little scarier, a little darker.
When writing this next chapter, we really wanted to return to our darker roots.
Everything's a little darker, everything's more difficult.
The story of...
More difficult. Is it? Is it now? Doesn't seem like it. I had more difficulty in Diablo 3, really.
Lilith and Inarius is the darkest story we've ever told.
No. No, it isn't. Daddy Issues is not the darkest story you ever told. That's not it. Darkest story you ever told, maybe Warcraft 3. with Arthas, and that city he had to evaporate because it was consumed by a plague. That was darkest story. Maybe the Lich King was the darkest story. Maybe Diablo 2 was the darkest story. Maybe anything else was the darkest story, like StarCraft's annihilation of whole planets and thing. That was maybe very dark. This is not the darkest story you've ever told. Not even by a long shot.
What?
Without me, you would have no victory. And its cost will be more than you can pay.
Okay. So, is now the darkest story ever told considered cheesy villain monologuing at the end? Because it seems to me like the Lilith is just like, you will regret this.
Darkest story
With the epileptic flashbacks in the background.
we've ever told.
You have done well.
Yeah, that's bad. That's dark. Agree.
Now I think you shall have your reward.
Yeah, that's pretty dark. Don't catch fire. He caught fire.
Is the darkest story we've ever told.
The dark tone is at direct odds with the gameplay because you're slaughtering endless hordes of trash mobs like it's nothing.
Also that. Yeah, also that. For a dark game with a dark tone to work, you need to have a sense of danger, sense of scale, sense of...
The gacha games have more darker story than it. The story of Diablo is written more like the story we tell in the Bible NGL.
Yeah, exactly. It's not dark story at all. I don't really know. The gacha games I play have a darker story. Like casually darker. A lot of it has a really vulnerable sense of danger. And every time I play Dorica, for example, when I faced off against Laser in his mutated form, against the first, in chapter 11, I dreaded it. I sat there with dread. I had dread. Because I was like, fuck, this is, how do I deal with this? Right? Because it was extremely dangerous. There was a lot of sense of foreboding. The gameplay matched the tone of the story. When I entered Devious's lair, I was unnerved. When I saw the animations of the monsters I was facing against in that lair, I was very unnerved by it. I was absolutely, how do I say it? I was not enjoying it in a way. I was enjoying it. I was enjoying not enjoying it. Those animations were jittery, completely unnatural, monstrous. The way they attacked was completely brutal. The way Devious laughed every time you faced off against him, he had all control. The only reason he won is his own arrogance, and surprisingly, Laser's interference in a lot of ways. But still, you felt like an underdog. The entirety of Mirage, I'd say, you felt like an underdog. That was basically seeping through the entirety of the storyline, and that's what made it so interesting to me. Honestly,
you could compare this idea to Bloodborne or Bioshock or Dead Space,
yeah,
where the gameplay matches the tone of the locations and narrative.
Yes. When your character suffered, you also suffered. It may be not trying the level over and over and over again. It may be actually feeling the emotions, the scare. If it's a horror game, you need to be scared, just as your protagonist is. If it's an RPG against like a super big army, you need to feel the tension and the danger of every encounter, because otherwise it will not deliver the same punch as any other game that does that.
Brilliance of Diablo 1's design is there are very few moments where you can let your guard down, even at the start, because even the trash mobs can surround you and kill your ass.
Same.
Exploration. Diablo 1 very tense and methodical.
Yeah.
It was an action RPG, but it also felt like a survival game. But this whole aspect of surviving the forces of hell started to become more and more irrelevant when they released the second game. The issue with Diablo 1's design is that it doesn't fulfill the power fantasy modern gamers are looking for in a Diablo game. Like I said, the tastes have changed. And I accept that. Diablo
I do accept that as well.
Want to kill hordes of demons that fill up the entire screen. And
they want to see epic lightning bolt go ahead and murder like 300 enemies at the same time. They want to see like they want to just see the screen flooded with enemies that they can just stomp and feel really powerful about. I don't understand that. I will never understand that. I will always find myself bored after an hour of doing that. But you do you guys. Do you?
They want to feel like a badass. The problem I have with this is it makes most fights with basic enemies feel totally trivial and pointless.
Yep.
Because they serve no actual threat.
You might as well just pass them.
Now, this doesn't bother me in normal RPGs where you out-level enemies.
Yep.
Because of the scaling, that's not a thing. At some point, I realized that fighting random enemies on the way to a quest was a waste of time.
Waste of time. Just skip them. It's fine. They don't do anything for you. If not killing them doesn't really change anything. Just go past them.
Because the quest itself will give me demons to fight, so I might as well skip all combat in the open world entirely. Yep. You see, it's not enough to make a.
Why make it combat? Why make it open world if everything in the open world feels useless and irrelevant? Why? Why do that? For trends, I guess. That's.
The number man is all about the number. The bigger the better.
I guess so. That's people like it. I guess that's why people like it. I guess. I don't understand it. Objectively, I don't. Like, even when I play Fate, right, I didn't really give a shit about the bigger number. I just needed to... Anyhow, let's continue the video.
Somewhat linear ARPG that progresses in challenge through 5 different acts. They need to make a Diablo game into some sort of endlessly replayable grind fest in order to maximize player retention and justify a live service business model.
Yeah, I guess that's also true. People really like to justify having live business.
Nice.
Welcome back, Frederick. You missed mostly me rambling about modern gaming. I still am rambling about modern gaming.
What have I missed?
You missed me rambling about modern gaming.
Diablo 2 was more open, but it was segmented, you know? You couldn't just run to the Act 5 area at the start of the game.
That's fair.
If they had to have the open world, I would have suggested make the campaign somewhat linear, and then once players beat the game, the world opens up.
Agreed. If you want your players to engage in the world continuously, right? The farming, the lev dailies, the weeklies, the battle pass, whatever the hell. What you need to do to actually succeed in pulling people in, that's what people do in MMOs. You need to have an interesting story that goes from point A to point B, and takes you all over the world in a way that would make it so people will remember every time they passed a new. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. I am an orc player. I have an orc army. Anyway, you need.
Just as you were saying, you were playing orcs, which is cool.
Yeah. But yeah, you need to go, you need to like start in the starting area. Then you need to go there, and there's like a challenge there, and you clear the challenge, and you remember the area. Oh, those spiders are fucking annoying, or something like that. And then you go into the other area, and then you clear that stuff. You encounter an interesting boss along the way. And after you've passed the entirety of the campaign and went into hell and killed Lilith or something like that, you unlock the entirety of the map.
You are right. Look at the early Pokemon or Final Fantasy games. Their gameplay was a bit iffy, but the stories were amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, that's how you remember games, because of the story. If there's no good story, you don't remember the game. That's simple as that. There is,
After over an hour, I'm back. How many videos did I miss?
Unfortunately, Danny, I talk too much, so you missed exactly 10 minutes of video. I watched exactly 10 minutes of video in the time you were gone. Okay, 0.5. Yeah, 0.5.
0.5.
0.5. Exactly.
But there would be a lot more to it than that. The point is, when you throw hundreds and thousands of trash mobs at me, it trivializes the combat and therefore trivializes the threat hell itself poses to the world of Sanctuary.
Not only that, it trivializes your presence in the world to an extent that it's just like you're just a scrub, you're just a random scrub that came around, and you're just one of many badasses in the world that's running around. So hell is not really a threat all along, because there's hundreds of people like you running in this world. Because hell is nothing. It's just like clock in, clock out. It's like the office job. Casually kill the Lord of Hell every 5 days a week, 7 days a week, 5 times 5 an hour a day.
Care about story, just go play the Roblox version of these games.
Exactly.
When you finally get to hell, there was a brief moment of excitement. I was like, oh, fuck yeah. I'm going to start seeing some crazy-ass enemies. And then
you don't.
It was the same demons I was fighting at the start of the game. Even the unique bosses aren't all that challenging. Take the Astaroth battle. It's built up quite a bit. I mean, you're fighting a Hell Knight riding a giant 5-headed demon dog.
And?
Fucking epic. This should be a major checkpoint in the player's skills, and this guy should be a total badass. Instead, he's a cakewalk because of scaling difficulty.
Yeah, that's it. He scaled up to your level, and if you don't do all the bullshit leveling situations, which most people, which I don't, I often don't really stop and overextend myself.
Notice towards Roblox, off-brand Roblox Diablo was really good.
Yeah, there are some really good developers in Roblox systems. There is really good developers. Yes.
I made a video a long time ago about the most important thing every video game.
I'll be back tomorrow when you've watched 30 minutes.
Exactly. Thank you, Danny. Shit, you got me.
And it's challenge. If I'm not challenged, then I don't see a point. I don't see a point to playing the game.
I don't see a point either.
About Diablo 4. I might have been willing to grind to World Tier 3 and deal with the game's lack of difficulty up to that point if it weren't for the second crippling.
People who play Diablo 4, if there's any, how usually long it takes to get to level Tier 3? Like, how long does it take to play the game? Or like people who know Diablo 4, how usually much it takes to get to the appropriate level of difficulty at which it's actually interesting to play? Just answer whenever you feel like it. I'm gonna continue the video. If anyone here knows the answer, please answer me, because I'm actually curious.
Flaw: the skills. Now, at first I was having a blast with this game, and every time I leveled up, I was super pumped to spend the next 5 minutes looking at the skill tree and carefully considering what I would put my point in. It felt like my playstyle was constantly expanding until I unlocked my ultimate. Once you do that, the game becomes extremely repetitive as your playstyle is set in stone from then on. And you're only investing points in
mod check.
I know. I don't think I'm watched by a lot of Diablo players though, so that's fair. It's fair if nobody answers me. From what I can understand, it'd be about 60 hours, maybe something like that, which is insane. Because in the 60 hours I played, not in the 45-ish hours I played.
Thinking face.
In the 45 hours I played Dorica so far, for example, I have been challenged repeatedly, many times actually. I lost several times. I lost many times. There was a boss battle, not boss battle. There was a battle that needed me to really think about it, and I spent 15 minutes just repeating this over and over and over and over and over and over again, like for 10 attempts. 11 attempts before I actually passed it. It wasn't even like a boss battle or anything. It was just like a random battle that has a very hard hard puzzle behind it that you needed to solve. Every battle was a puzzle box that I needed to unveil, and the puzzle became more and more obscure and harder to spot the more you played it. Obviously, because the game developers behind Dorica know how to actually balance the fucking difficulty.
massive bonuses and stat increases. Sure, you can respec and swap out skills, but you're only allowed 5 abilities and a basic attack. Once you max these abilities out, you can only move laterally.
To be fair though, you can make limited amount of abilities work. That's not the problem here. The problem here is that you need to make sure the skills are feel fundamental to use. It doesn't really matter if you have like a million skills or 4 skills. If the combat feels underwhelming, combat will feel underwhelming anyway. I feel like though it should be customizable though. It should be customizable which abilities you can use. If you have 5 slots, you should be able to use all 70 slots over and over again. You need to be able to swap those easily. If that's not a thing here, I would call bullshit.
Not vertically. You can't expand your playstyle or your arsenal of tools. You can only swap things out. Does that make sense? Yes, this limitation does create trade-offs.
There is a similar debate in tabletop RPGs. Player challenge versus character challenge.
I already touched upon tabletop RPGs.
Diablo seems a very character challenge-centered game.
Yeah, it seems like it. I'm not a fan of that, honestly. I'm not a fan. Maybe people are fans of that. People will play the game who are fans of that, obviously. People will dedicate their hours to it. The people will spend hundreds of hours on this, thousands of hours on this game. I never was the demographic for those kind of games because
I beg your pardon for retreading old ground.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. You actually brought on an interesting point. I am objectively not the demographic that these games want. Right? I don't have a single game, and I'm not joking. Don't have a single game in my roster in my 20 years of playing games that I played over 500 hours. Not a single game. I know people play like thousands of hours some games because that's what they do, but I don't. I have specific goals I want to fulfill. I want to be the hard boss. I want to finish the level.
Not a RuneScape player, I see.
Yeah, exactly. I want to finish a hard level.
Hello? Are there places for Russians here?
Yes, there are. Don't worry, you are free to stay. I'm just speaking primarily in English because, but I don't really mind if Russian people here. I am Russian myself, so welcome, Alexander. But yeah, I'm not a RuneScape player. I'm not a hardcore super.
I think it says in the description that Russian is cool to talk and chat.
Yeah. You can talk and chat in Russian. I will respond in Russian. Don't worry about it. Just don't go too hard on it. That's what I'm gonna say. Because I don't want people to not understand what I'm talking about. that'd be kind of hard to explain. What am I like? Repeat myself.
Players to think carefully about what to invest in and what type of play style they want.
Yeah.
But I remember Diablo 2 doing this exact same thing and letting you have 8 abilities and a basic attack and 2 weapons you could swap between.
I don't think limiting your amount of abilities is really the problem here. You really can make any gameplay shine with any amount of abilities as long as you actually make it satisfying to use those abilities. Like every ability should be weighty enough for you to go like, oh, this is a play style I want to stick to, right? This is the thing I want to be doing.
Equals 3.
This is the thing I want to be doing for the rest of the game. Like, I want to use the Hulk smash across the entirety of the game, and I will enjoy myself throughout the entirety of the game using Hulk smash, right? If it's not an ability that has weight, I feel like it's better to have quantity over quantity, because if you don't have either quantity nor quality, I think we have a problem.
Shit, man, even the original Diablo let you have, like 30 different abilities and magic spells? I guess this 5-skill limitation in Diablo 4 wouldn't bother me so much if it weren't so tedious to change builds, right? If you get to a super high level in Diablo 4 and decide to change your playstyle, you better have enough gold to change it back in case you hate it.
That's bullshit. Okay, that's bullshit. No. Skill points is the way to go. Skill points should be the thing. You have skill points, get skill points as you level up. You can just reset them, get back your skill points, and invest just as much stuff into different abilities. That should be the case. If that's not the case, I'm sorry.
Because there is no loadout system, which I think would work if you could purchase like loadout slots.
Yeah, that's if you really want money for it. Yeah, sure.
And you could swap those out at the stash. I'd probably keep playing the game if that was a thing.
If you don't have an easy way to swap between builds in a game that requires you to play repeatedly and test out builds, I don't get what you're thinking.
But right now, it just feels like Diablo 4 is insistent on restricting the most fun aspects of its gameplay.
Yeah.
Is it for balance? Balance for what? PvP?
Who cares?
The fuck cares? WoW lets you
fucking hell. Axeman!
like 500 different abilities. Balance for PvE? That's a laugh. We just established the game is too easy up until you hit level 50. Maybe...
I'm not sure PvP is a thing, though. Is it? Is it a thing? And I haven't tried fighting other players.
Maybe it's the...
I mean, if it's an MMO light, it must be.
Force players to make trade-offs, and that seems more likely. But come on, man. It's boring.
A main cornerstone of D4 is play your way.
Yeah, play your way. Play one way and no other way. And if you want to play any other way, you have to go through a bunch of hoops and completely bust your ass to actually play another way. But if your way includes actually playing different builds and trying out different strategies, that is not a your way we can allow.
Between all of our different systems, you can really create a custom character in ways that was not available in previous Diablo
Bullshit!
titles.
You're a liar! You're a liar! In the eternal conflict between the high heavens and the burning hells, Diablo 4 offers you more choice than ever before.
Bullshit.
This too is false.
Because we have all of these different ways to make your own character.
Yes, a whole ass. We have so many ways of making character.
Because we have all of these
whole ass 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ways. 8 presets, whole ass 8 presets. I'm sure you can customize it directly, but I'm just making a joke. You have whole ass 8 ways to play this game. So much customization. Oh my god. Oh my wow.
These different ways to make your own character. There's a lot more possibility compared to previous titles.
Yeah,
of
sure.
How you want to play, how you want to build your character.
But if I want to play a game that allows me to experiment with builds and try different builds and use different strategies, I'm fucked, right? I'm fucked.
Liar! See, I had this fantasy of being a lightning-throwing, shape-shifting druid. I wanted to have a hybrid between those two builds, but I had to settle for just the lightning. Why can't we have more hotkeys? Is it a technical limitation?
I guess so, yeah. Some playstyles are just not available in the game, depending on limitations, because some games don't really, how do I say it? Some games require you to go full in, certain builds can't really go that middle. Same thing with D&D, actually. To return back to the tabletop analogy, D&D usually has you go full in on the thing, because if you don't go full in, you can multitask, right? Multi-level, right? You can give like a few levels in Rogue, a few levels in there, but ultimately you will not get the ultimate experience of a character. How do I say it? No, let me rephrase that. You will not get the ultimate experience of the class that you picked at the start, or the class that you picked ultimately to focus on, because you already diluted the class with other things. Sure, it can bring the biggest bunk ever, right? Sure, it can bring like the some combination of classes are the most meta thing ever, but then the other combination of classes are absolutely incompatible in any shape or form. Like, if you want to play Barbarian, you will not pick a level of, say, Wizard, because you cannot cast while raging. Those things are not compatible with each other. That's part of the game design. If you were able to rage and also cast Fireball, I think that will be a little too much.
Like, because they're making a game for consoles too?
The internet knocked me out.
Yeah. Welcome back, Alexander.
10 levels of Rogue and 10 levels Fighter. You will never get that 20th level ability.
Yeah, you will never get the ultimate satisfaction of maxing out the character. That is not a thing. You will not get it. People will do certain dips when they want to do it. You will not even be able to max your subclass, actually. because most subclass ultimate ability, the final defining feature of a subclass, is usually past level 10, far past level 10 sometimes.
Dragon Age Origins, Fable, and other RPGs have had workarounds for that issue.
Mm-hmm.
But let's look at another top-down RPG that's also on console. Divinity Original Sin 2,
Oh, I love
one
this
of the
game.
greatest video games ever made. You can invest points in the memory stat to unlock more skill slots. There's no limit, and you can do this with 4 different characters. It's literally like that easy, or at least it would be if when you leveled up, you can invest points in attributes, but you can't do that in Diablo until level 50. What the fuck?
Huh? You can do it at level 50. You can do it at level 50. Why? Why not just give it immediately? It's not like stats in Diablo 4 matter much. At least give the ability to control how you want to level. I don't know. I don't know.
What were they thinking? Look, these are 2 radically different kinds of games, but the point is...
Good luck, Alexander, with your treatment. Sorry if I...
Time for me to sleep. Tomorrow I have to go for treatment.
Yeah, good night. Good night, Alexander. Thank you for dropping by.
Fuck ton of RPGs. I have a lot more fun with this than this.
That's. I think that is a part of personal preference at this point. That is just a part of personal preference. You don't. It's not really something you can be. You can blame on the game. It's not really something you can blame on the game. That's something you have to sort of understand for yourself. Because ultimately, when you play a game, you have to. Night. Everything you have to accept the limitations of certain games. If you play D&D, you sort of accept the fact that you need to play a class. D&D 5e, you need to play the class. You need to level Barbarian, you need to go full in Barbarian. You can't just go, I want to play a Barbarian that can also cast spells and resurrect allies and be the greatest Grand Mage in the world. Just because you told I want to do this does not mean the game should grant you this. That's not something I don't particularly agree with it. But in a game such as Diablo, I think having an easier time switching skills and switching builds is something you should have. More skills, maybe not. Switching skills, yes.
The limitations on skills and the backwards-ass design of scaling difficulty have basically killed any long-term enjoyment I could have had with this game. You blew it! Diablo 4 is plagued by so many what the fuck were they thinking type of issues. It's almost comical. What the fuck? You know how when PC players play a first-person shooter and they lose their mind if they can't control the field of view? That's exactly how I felt playing Diablo 4. Like, bro, why is the camera so zoomed in? Like,
I noticed that too. You can't zoom back out of the map on your own. The game includes zoomed back sections, but you can't zoom back on your own for some reason.
StarCraft 3 that lets you zoom out further than what the base
Unless they patched it in later.
Zooming out is one of the biggest features they flaunted when they were promoting StarCraft Remastered. I just don't get it. Look, I'll show you, okay? Here's the FOV in the original. Character ain't too big.
I remember when
great.
people were so annoyed about the flexible racial ability bonuses, because it meant choosing a character race wasn't an important choice.
Yeah, exactly. People like choices. People like making choices. People like to have flexibility. People like their choices to be meaningful. That's the thing. If you make everything watered down and unimportant, people will never remember their characters. D&D is already watered down and unimportant in a lot of ways, because ultimately race amounts to just how much the 2 stats you're gonna get, or in case of humanity, you're not even gonna get that. You don't really get anything in terms of humans. You're just vanilla piece of bread. Sure, part of it is all of it. Ultimately, all the enjoyment of D&D is in the role play. How you make a character is how you enjoy a character. You can ultimately make any character interesting if you try hard enough. But
In old editions, you had to deal with negatives.
Yeah, exactly. Negatives, trade-offs. You need to pick one thing over the other thing. And if you pick one thing, you have to deal with the negative for that thing. People don't like that these days. So ultimately, 5e decided to just cut out the entire negative part so people stop whining about it.
Here's Diablo 2, same thing. Even Diablo 3 somehow got this right. And then, well, what the fuck? Throughout my playthrough, I kept spamming the scroll.
Trade-offs. That is the word I am looking for.
That is also the word I was looking for. Thank you. Trade-offs. You have to have trade-offs. Sure, trade-offs in some cases trade-offs are good, right? In cases of this, I think that sounds kind of cool. That you have this amount of abilities that you can use and basically focus on in the entirety of the playthrough, right? And you unlock your ultimate, and that's how you go. Your ultimate, you play the abilities, but there's a caveat in that. You should be able to switch those things if you don't like them. You should be able to find your own build that you truly like, right? In case of D&D, I feel like by not giving choice of what abilities you get outside of the subclass, they allow you to still keep your identity, but also allow classes to remain generally the same. So nobody feels like they have much of a choice in terms of building. In that case, then there is no reason for experimentation. There is no choice. It's not like you can just level back and choose and say, my character suddenly forgets how to be a berserker and gains the ability to shoot lightning out of their ass. That just does not make sense in context of the character. Like, right, that wouldn't really make sense. But in case of Diablo, I think it should be possible to apply different skill sets because there's choice, and that choice should matter.
Button in vain, hoping it would zoom out, but it never does. Wait, hold the fucking phone. You can zoom out? I've been playing for 20 hours, and now when I'm in hell near the end of the goddamn game, it can finally zoom out? Why couldn't I
that's bullshit.
play the rest of the game like this?
Yeah. I like to be... I'm a strategy game player myself, too. I like to zoom back and have the bigger picture in mind. I was always really annoyed that the field of vision was too zoomed in. It was not a third-person RPG. I don't want to watch my character's ass. If I want to watch my character's ass, I would play Dragon Age.
Why does it only zoom out at parts where the developers want to show off the level design? The level design's beautiful, by
level design is cool, but I don't give a shit.
the way. Why do I even have to complain about this? It just
Why?
shouldn't be an issue. Just
Yeah,
let me
no.
zoom out.
It's not like it's not like it requires to be a programming genius to include a zooming back camera. I can include a zoom back camera in a game if you give me the tools for it. I can do that. Hire me, Blizzard. I can come into the office and I can give you. I can do this. I know the code. I helped my friend do an indie game. I know the code.
I figure we might as well discuss the side content Diablo offers.
I don't know any coding whatsoever. I never trained for it, but I know the code for that because he taught me. It takes about half an hour to do, unless your code is a cheese paste, which it probably is.
Well, most of it is pretty fun initially, like the dungeons. Some side quests have interesting bits of story, and the strongholds are fun, lengthy battles. These activities get old real quick.
If they don't have any variation to them, yeah.
It's pretty obvious they had a quantity over quality mentality to ensure there was a lot of content for players to grind and...
That is the standard mentality for RPGs these days, I think. The big RPGs, anyway. Where people just go, let's just fill the 16 times the detail. It's 16 times the detail. Doesn't give a fuck about the fact that all that 16 times is bullshit. All of it. It's just stupid or empty or completely uninspired. Doesn't matter.
There's 5 main areas in the game, and by completing the side content, you earn renown, which lets you unlock important things like extra skill points, more potion capacity.
Sure.
It's pretty much necessary to max these things out after you beat the campaign.
Sure.
Problem is, once again, as a result of the live service, Blizzard intends to reset the renown you've earned with every season.
No. Just no. That reeks of desperation to me. that reeks of desperation and complete lack of any creative capacity. You don't know how to make the game engaging, so you make it punishing to be engaged. That's... to return back to about an hour and a half ago, people have shitty taste in games.
Why is this a problem?
If they enjoy that.
Because most Diablo
personal opinion.
fans fucking hated grinding for it.
I don't know why they are holding on to the idea that refarming Renown will be fun.
It's not fun. It doesn't sound fun. It doesn't feel fun to play, and it feels punishing, actually, to be in any shape or form invested into the game and maximizing anything. And then you go back into the game, and then you realize, oh shit, your levels are reset. It's like same thing going on. Imagine in a D&D campaign, you were playing with a GM, right? GM, and you was like, okay, we spent the last year and a half going through this campaign, right? And then one day, you come into the campaign, and the GM proudly announces that the season 2 of the campaign starts. Hence, every level, every item, everything you had until this point, every level you gained until this point, is irrelevant. You're back to level 1. Just nothing you did matter. No, nothing you farmed mattered. Nothing. Would you play that game? Just asking people. Would you play that game? I don't think you would.
Yes, the good old days of undead stealing your levels.
Oh dear! Oh no! Undead stole my levels. Yeah, exactly. But still, would you, if it was not like a mechanic, if it was nothing, but you just came into the game expecting to play level 15 druid or something, and then you realize you're now level 1 druid instead of level 15 druid, and all your sheets have been appropriately reset. You still keep your items, you still keep your storyline, you still keep your everything, but all your levels have been reset. Or maybe not a good example. Another example that could be is that you came back, you did this whole reputation system with the guild, right? And you have been farming quests with that guild in your campaign. You have been greeting the NPCs. You have been interacting with the leaders of the group. You helped the group win the war and establish themselves. You truly changed the world. And one day you return back with all your levels, level 15 druid, and then you realize that every single person of that group had a collective amnesia. Every person of that group, every person of that group you just interacted with for the last year had a collective amnesia, and now nobody remembers you, and every single meaningful relationship you made within that group is now null and void because the DM said it's now season 2. You need to refarm every single relationship you made within that game. You need to do that now. You have all your levels, you have all your items, you haven't lost power, anything, but everything you did was completely for nothing.
I don't want to do the same side quests again. They're fucking annoying and they're a waste of time. I don't want to have
halfway
to re-clear
through
the
a 40-minute
same pointless
video.
dungeons for no reason.
You've probably seen people say stuff like, if I don't want to have to grind Renown again, if I have to grind Renown again, I'm not playing anymore.
Let him
and
click
I'm sitting
OK.
over here thinking,
Thank you, Bobby.
To myself. So if the side content is that bad, if it's so boring that you never want to experience anything like it ever again, then that's not content.
That's not content, that's chores.
Dude. Those are chores.
Yep, exactly.
You're at the grocery store right now.
You going down the list. You just checking marks. You clocking into the office. You doing 5 to 7 job, even though you are not getting paid to do it.
Checking off a list.
You are being fucked so hard by Blizzard. You are being fucked in the ass really repeatedly every day you play the game, and you're enjoying it. You're enjoying it so hard.
You know, maybe these activities are worth re-examining and redesigning to make grinding Renown a fun experience so that players are open to doing that again. And the promotional videos...
Gasp! Making interesting content would actually make people enjoy the game more and play the interesting content. What a revolution!
Blizzard kept reiterating how much content there is, and that players will never run out of
So much content.
It's been created to feel full of things to encounter,
Yes,
full of
yes.
secrets to discover, full of characters to interact with, full of stories to find.
You have so many activities that you might run into.
Diablo 4 offers so much more for players to do than ever before.
We've really crafted the world to feel like there's always something just around the corner to find.
Every single time you come back to play Diablo 4, there's going to be new stuff for you to experience.
There's over 120 dungeons to play through and find. We've got almost 150 dungeons.
I love how these developers repeatedly say how much of things there are, because that's the only thing they can tell about the game. Just how much things there are. If they can't tell exact concrete reasons why this is so good, they just say big good. It's like a dude who never had sex basically comes up to the girl and says, "Hey girl, I have a big dick," and that's it. He isn't handsome in any capacity. He probably had never even he doesn't even know what sex is really, but he knows big dick. That's it. Sure, it might be worth it for someone, right? It's like so big, so much stuff to do, right? So big, so good, so big. There's no substance to it. There's nothing else there. He isn't interesting in any capacity. This person isn't really fun to talk with, or handsome, or pretty, or anything. It's just big dick. Cool. I don't know why I decided to use the same the analogy of a dick towards the game, but it's a thing I did.
To never be an absence of something to do.
It's really just going to be a way to keep coming back and experiencing more Diablo 4.
It's usually a red.
See what they talk about? How they talk about it? They talk about it in a way that does not allow any specifics. They talk a bunch of bullshit, and none of it makes any sense to me. Oh, there's so much to do, so much to do. Explain what exactly there is to do. Why exactly should I return? So much to do. There's so much to do. There is so much to do in a trash can. There's lots of things to do in a trash can if you really want to. Why would you do that though? You can pick trash. You can set it on fire. You can piss in it. I don't know. There is so much things to do in a trash can. Doesn't make it less of a trash can.
Flag when I hear developers talk like this, because what they're actually trying to say, if you translate it, is our game is going to have endless amounts of boring, tedious, and shallow activities.
Exactly.
They focus on the scale of content instead of its quality. They prioritize the grind instead of the fun, exciting, and the...
Who'd think that if players find the game fun, they will return to the game? Look at, I don't know, Risk of Rain 2. It's a fairly obscure game. There's not a lot of content. There is like, what, 6 maps? 10 maps, okay. There's a different variety of enemies you need to collect, right? And you just go through the same game over and over and over and over again. Because it's a roguelike, but still, you go through this game over and over and over and over and over again.
This game is more fun with friends doesn't mean much, because filing your taxes is more fun with friends.
Yeah, 10 map, 1 DLC. Exactly. There's 10 map, 1 DLC.
10 map, 1 DLC.
Yeah. And you go through the game over and over and over and over again. But guess what? It's fun. So people go through the game over and over and over again. And some people probably have more hours played in Risk of Rain 2, which is a single purchase with DLC, than they go through Diablo 4. Because there's more enjoyment in what quantity of content there is in Risk of Rain than there is in the sea of content that is Diablo 4. Because Risk of Rain is quality, Diablo 4 is quantity. And people will abandon it eventually. Nobody will remember this game because there will be Diablo 5, and then people will jump to defend Diablo 5 because Diablo 5 is totally cool. It's totally better. It's totally gonna be better. It's totally gonna be will not have any problems. Diablo 4 had because of course.
New. I don't know, man. I guess I just don't get it. I don't understand the appeal of having my progress and my character reset.
I don't either.
And then having the devs try to pass it off as a feature and not a corrupt save file.
Mm-hmm.
You know, getting to level 40 and saving up enough money to buy a mount in WoW Classic was a big deal. I felt so accomplished after I did that.
Yeah.
That I could explore the world much more efficiently.
Yeah.
But more importantly, Blizzard didn't take my mount away after 3 months and
No.
say, go do all that shit again, asshole. What's next on the agenda? Stats and loot. The bread and butter of most RPGs and the main reason people play them for hundreds of hours.
Yeah,
On some occasions, you do get a nice reward
depends on the
for
RPG, but yeah.
quest or defeating a boss like this amulet that summons a barrier, or the Mother's Embrace ring you get from Lilith. But these are extremely rare in the campaign.
Okay,
Just
show me.
But I find the majority of loot drops in Diablo 4 to be terribly unexciting, to the point where I hardly read what most items actually do. And at a certain point, I just walk past chests because they rarely hold anything of interest.
I did notice that, yeah. A lot of the loot in Diablo 4 I played with didn't really seem weighty or didn't really mean much. Sometimes I already had items that are much more, much stronger than the item that was presented to me had. Like sometimes I was like already equipped with stuff because I rolled good on like loot rolls or whatever, or maybe I just like went through it in a weird direction. Either way, there was sometimes just like bad loot there that I just didn't care about.
I think the loot is extremely boring for a few reasons. Number one, it all looks extremely generic. Maybe it's because I'm playing as a druid and just the druid.
Yeah. The fact that they couldn't even afford to make better PNGs for weapons, that's depressing. That's depressing. Like, okay, chat, real quickly. Tell me, what's the difference between the gold item and the gray item? Just really quickly, look at this and tell me, is there any difference? I see nothing. There's just like, okay, 2 spikes. Like there's a big bulky stick of gold quality, which I assume is rarer. And there's like a big spiky thing that is like not rare. There is not much difference, is it? Color. Sure, color. But like the item itself, not the background. The item itself, not the background. Is there any difference? Is there any difference between these boots that are supposedly this is rarer than this is? Like, okay, rings, sure. There is a difference between this. But look at this. Is there any difference? I don't think any. I don't see any.
Good items are boring, but when I look at the loot in Diablo 1 and 2, it just looks way fucking cooler. You got like the Skull Shield or Arcane's Valor. I mean, look at the helmets and...
That's just another case of complete artistic bankruptcy. People don't enjoy working on the games, and that's very visible. I think that's something also people really overlook when they talk about games and they talk about development. People don't enjoy making games in AAA studios. They don't. There's no passion. There's no enjoyment of the process. They will not sit down and say, "Okay, I need to make how do I make this amazing? How do I make this fucking fantastic?" They don't do that. And I perfectly understand it because the AAA studios are often stifling creativity in a lot of ways. They stifle the creative process of people who make those games. So eventually it becomes routine. It just becomes, okay, I need to make 5 item of this quality. Whatever. I just slap boots and draw a green line on there. Done. And nobody in the management goes, "Oh no, you have to make it really cool." No, nobody does that. The management are very satisfied with people buying the coolest items from the cash shop.
How colorful and different they are. But in Diablo...
That's just how it works.
Sometimes making something new is a risk. Corporations exist to minimize risk. Exactly. After the Blizzard workforce incident, yeah. Not only that, a lot of the big AAA companies are fucking hellscapes for developers. They are hellscapes for QA testers, developers, artists. Fucking hell. They're hell. So people don't have the time to be passionate about the product they're making. People don't have time to be really, people don't want to do that thing that sometimes Japanese animation studios do when they're given a certain amount of budget and people work overtime all the time to work to not, sometimes not even paid, but they put as much effort into things as it takes, as if there's like a movie budget behind the anime, even though the anime does not have a movie budget. It has the same budget as any other anime, but they still pull in this just as much effort as it was like a anime movie. They pull in they clock in overtime, and that's how you get like animes like Demon Slayer, which is objectively a mid anime, but the animation is so good, everyone is just like, oh wow, this is just a spectacle. This is such a fucking spectacle. The original manga didn't get nearly as popular because it wasn't a spectacle. The art was very specific, very scuffy.
I'm sure Japanese studios are just as exploitative, but those devs really are committed.
Exactly. Those devs, a lot of it doesn't make it better, it doesn't make it good that the fact that Japanese studios are exploitative. It just means that Japanese people are workaholics in a lot of ways and have way too much commitment to their cause. Way too much commitment sometimes. That's just a fact. Way too much. And it's just
That's
like...
why I mostly play Japanese games these days.
Same, honestly same. But yeah, if you look at the JRPG, say Final Fantasy XIV, the story behind Final Fantasy XIV is one told for the ages, but it's the story that cannot in any shape or form happen in the West. Why? Because the developers are tired already. There's not going to be a Yoshida that comes in and saves the day. There's not going to be a task force that saves the game and turns it into a masterpiece. Because every person on that task force will treat the game the same way as they treat it usually, which is whatever, fuck it. They will not try to make two games at the same time in 1.5 years and live in the office. They will not. Because that's not what they want to do. They want to just get money, get money, and get by. And I'm not making a dig at those developers. Please don't misunderstand here, people who will watch this eventually, if you guys even watch it. People in the comments, I am making a difference in mentality. There's a complete and utter difference in mentality. Both are exploitative. Both are bad. But in some cases, crunch and overtime and all that stuff, it can be rewarding to people. But a lot of people do not find it rewarding. It depends on the mentality. So, for example, that's what I was speaking about, basically. Japanese developers, they are way too devoted. They are way too dedicated to their job. Even if they're exploited, they're still going to do their best, right? And that's kind of bad, because that leads to really a big amount of stress, depression, and what happens at the end of the road, and what is big statistic of Japanese going to the forest, to a very specific forest, for a walk. I'm not gonna say what exactly happens there, but you sure. But you know, if you know, you know. And on the other hand, you have the games that are completely broken, underperforming in the West, and they're not gonna get fixed because people don't give a shit. If they're paid, they're paid.
Rewarding exploitation increase exploitation, but at least they care.
Yeah, they give a shit. And that's not to say Western developers suck because they don't give a shit. It's hard to. If anything, it's unrealistic to expect people who work in these conditions to give a shit. That's why that's why indie developers are usually the most passionate. That's why indie developers usually take the most risks. That's why indie developers usually are fully committed to the cause and fully committed to working in their fucking attic for $0 for a year just to get the money back from their game because their game is good. That's why fucking Sean from No Man's Sky, he sold his house to fuel the game. He just fucking sold his house and lived in an attic for half a year just to make a game Joe Danger, which ended up being good, but still, he fucking sold his house. That's how committed this guy was. Ah, fucking hell.
Diablo 4, when I find a pair of boots, I feel like it's the same fucking pair of boots I've already seen 100
Tangent done, sorry.
times.
Mhm.
Am I the only one who feels this way? Am I missing something? Am I tripping? You know, maybe it also has to do with the fact that every item takes up the same amount of space.
Look at Kingdom Hearts.
Mhm.
All they needed throw Mickey into a Final Fantasy setting with a sword, and instead they made a whole multiverse with lore and history.
They went way too hard on Kingdom Hearts. I can agree with that. Maybe Kingdom Hearts is not exactly my taste of game because of how convoluted the story is and how much it requires you to know to just understand what the fuck is happening. But on the other hand, they went way too hard on Kingdom Hearts. That is like absolutely correct. They did not need to go this hard on Kingdom Hearts, but they did. I can agree on that. They did.
Icons all look so similar that in my brain it all morphs together.
Yeah.
There are very few moments where finding a piece of loot is genuinely exciting in Diablo 4.
That's kind of a problem, isn't it?
Or, look at Five Nights at Freddy's. Convoluted story again, but that was because Scott cared so much.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's exactly that's true. That's very, very correct, Frederick. These franchises have such a deep lore and history and so much games and everything and so much profits because the creators gave their entire soul into those creations. And sure, maybe some of them might be not the best people. Sure, sometimes the scandals exist. Sure, things, yada, 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 yada. But the product of passion is always going to be better than the product of a conveyor belt. Diablo 4. Conveyor belt. Risk of Rain 2, passion. Big difference. Kingdom Hearts, passion. Final Fantasy XIV, passion. I would say even World of Warcraft, passion. World of Warcraft was always a product of passion until recently, where developers started caring less and less and less and less about anything because of the new developers appearing and everything, and etc., etc., etc. But still, it was a product of passion until recently. To be back to be on topic of loot, it's a problem when loot is not good in a game that revolves around loot. It's a problem when you don't shout and say, and jump up from the game, from your seat and say, "Oh yeah, I got this fucking axe of booba increase. I got this waifu axe of booba increase. Hell yeah, it's rarest quality possible, gold. Look at the pair of tits on that thing." It's like, you know.
And part of that is because I'm also not a huge fan of RPGs that...
Like when you roll gacha. Like when you roll gacha in that fucking Star Rail, for example. Or, I don't know, Genshin Impact or anything. Yeah. And everything.
When you roll... On the subject of FNAF, Security Breach was the worst received game. And it's not a coincidence that it was made by a bigger studio.
Yeah, not only that, I think the game,
the DLC was much better.
The game itself, I feel like was stuck in the development hell a lot. So the more it is developed, the less of a passion there is for the game, and the less people give a shit, and the less quality the game will be. Because at this point, it's just let it out, just get it out. I don't give a shit anymore. Just get it out. I want to be working on something else, just not this. Get it out. Anything else, just not this. Just fuck off, please. I want to be doing something else with my life at this point. Yeah, right. And I don't blame them for it because, well, life is hard, really. The life of a developer is harder. Objectively is. Oh my god.
Dump a bunch of meaningless numbers and stats into the menu and equipment. Remember how awesome it was?
Oh, I love this. I love this. I do love this. It really is amazing when you pick up your axe and look at the stats, and it says you need to you do 5 more damage to wolves in the attic, dancing on a single on the left leg while
Also, would the axe of Buba increase raise your bust size or the targets?
Both. Yeah, both. Anyway, I do love the stats of an axe that I picked up that says you do 5 more damage to a wolf in an attic on a Monday evening with the rain outside, while dancing on a left leg, while also being after making a tattoo on your left shoulder that says "dick" in Japanese. I do love that. I do love me some stats like that. They amazing stats, very good, very rewarding to use.
In WoW, when you got that first item that boosted your stats instead of just armor.
Oh, dude, 4 strength, 4 stam, leather belt. Level 18.
I think part of the reason
I remember that
this clip became a meme is his excitement mirrored our excitement.
Yeah.
That was for a belt that he found at level 18.
Yeah.
I have never been even close to this excited for any item in Diablo 4.
Just quick take. Every time you need to introduce convoluted stats into a game and basically hide the amount of bullshit there actually is on an item behind like a novel of explanations and conditionals, the item is worthless.
When appraising the value of an item in an RPG, it really helps to understand the game's mechanics and what certain stats actually improve. If the
That's how you make a build. You understand the stats, you understand where you need to go, and you understand which items you need to equip. That's how you make a build. Duh.
If the numbers are too convoluted, then players aren't going to understand or feel any tangible benefit from increasing them, right? Again, you look at items in WoW, it's like plus 17 stamina.
Yeah.
What does plus 1 stamina do? Plus 10 HP.
Yeah.
Okay? You can easily wrap your head around that.
Yeah.
But because the sense of progression in Diablo 4 is so fucking skewed, now you find an item that's like plus 9 to all stats. And you're like, what the fuck? That sounds awesome. I'm only level 20. And then you look at what 1 point of strength does. And what does it do? Gives you 1 point of armor.
Huh? What? Why not 1% skill damage? Why 0.1%? That doesn't make any difference. If you have 40, if you have if you have 10, if you have 10 strength, that's like what, 0.10% skill damage. That doesn't do anything. You need to have 100 points in strength just to have 1% difference. What the hell? Okay.
Okay, well I have 3,000 points of armor, so this is worthless.
Yeah, this is worthless
to me. I can't get over this. Like, strength doesn't improve your damage or nothing. What does strength typically do?
It does improve your damage, but it doesn't improve it by a lot.
In an RPG. I want to use this big.
That doesn't make sense.
Big ass weapon strength requirement.
What the fuck is this?
Damage,
okay.
Strength? Bro, even in Warcraft 3, the strength stat did more than what it does in Diablo.
Okay.
4, and that wasn't even an RPG. I've never played an RPG like this where the core stats felt so fucking useless. So meaningless to increase. This is apparently what the entire Paragon board is all about. Yeah, let's talk about that shit. How do you balance a game that has skill trees this big by making each point basically worthless? Diablo 1 did it better. I cannot for the life of me understand what they were thinking. The reason I bring all this up is because so many of the stats on items I look at it and I'm like, well, this doesn't mean anything to me, or it doesn't feel important. League of Legends champion design suggests that giving players fewer but more meaningful passives is far more desirable than a bunch of passives that offer minimal changes. Because not gonna notice most of this shit.
I guess that's basically follows the usual tactic of quantity over quality. Quantity of items that doesn't do really anything really whatsoever. Quantity of items that are worthless and do minimal amount of things. Like not even anything interesting. They just do minimal amount of things.
Shit at all.
That follows. That tracks.
Especially when the enemies are scaling with you. There's so many different damage modifiers, you know, complex number calculations like damage to close enemies, damage to distant enemies. Well, where's the stat for damage to enemies at a moderate distance? Why don't you have that as well?
That's damage to enemies at a moderate distance, but not close enough to be close. But also not distant enough to be distant. But also maybe like damage behind to enemies behind 30 centimeters of cover, or maybe damage. Maybe you should introduce damage to enemies that are smoking at their work break, or maybe you should add damage to the enemies who play cards around the fireplace of specifically a 150 Celsius. And not above 200 Celsius degree Celsius, or maybe you need to introduce damage to enemies that are currently divorced. Maybe you should do that too. More ideas. More ideas for you. Damage to an enemy who's currently experiencing troubles with his son.
Specific abilities are hilarious.
Yeah, exactly.
Why is it necessary to have like 8 different stats to calculate how much damage something does? Why do resistances reduce incoming physical damage as well as magical damage? It's just like, I just think this is like the worst stat system I've ever seen in an RPG.
Seems like it defies not the worst. I've seen worse.
To be like.
Belief to me. So again, going back to the original, enemies didn't respawn and levels were finite. So you were encouraged to kill everything, pick up every item, and sell the shit you weren't using. You can sometimes buy a really good item with gold, and in the later stages purchase elixirs to boost stats. And of course, on potions. But Diablo games, in my opinion, even the first two, always had a way of making gold feel kind of worthless. That has never been more apparent than in Diablo 4. It's like you'd only have 2 options. Buy the shittiest gear you'll never use for dirt cheap, or drop all of your money on one overpowered item.
That's stupid.
I hate having just these 2 choices. So when you keep checking the shop inventory in Diablo 4 and it's never anything good, or it's something that requires you to drop all your money so you can't respec, you just stop checking. This blows my mind. The entire
trade-offs are not trade-offs if what you get in return for a negative is also a negative. I think people don't realize the trade-offs when they say trade-offs. Trade-offs are not trade-offs if in exchange for a bad thing you get a bad thing. It's not a trade-off if instead of being stabbed I get shot in the leg. It's not a trade-off.
Concept of purchasing items and equipment in an RPG is superfluous. That's a big fucking problem. I never once in my entire playthrough purchased a piece of equipment from a store. You know, sure, I did things like upgrade my potions or craft elixirs, or upgrade my gear.
Yeah, fair.
But I never bought anything. In fact, this item
lovely. Why the shops are even there then?
Has more item power, but the ring I currently have equipped has higher resistances. So like, why the fuck would I ever buy this?
Why?
Or that?
No.
Or that? Imagine creating an RPG where the in-game currency feels worthless.
Oh yeah,
At one point,
that's fair. That's how they do it usually. Because they want you to buy other currencies. If there is another imaginary currency that they've imagined in their brain and gave it quantity to, that can be bought, the game currency that cannot be bought becomes obsolete. They make absolutely every decision possible to make it obsolete, or make it really hard to take any value out of.
I stopped trying to pick up gold entirely if it was 2 seconds out of my way. And again, because the value of items scales
Mhm.
and everything is progressively getting more and
Yep.
more expensive, I feel like I'm only able to afford 1 or 2 items at any particular store.
Yep.
So I'm not about to drop all my cash on something that I'm just going to end up outscaling in an hour or 2. I think you've royally fucked up the in-game currency when taking 3 seconds to double back and pick up a pile of gold feels like a waste of time. So many facets of this game feel
Yeah.
superfluous to me, and I'm not saying they are superfluous. It's just how they feel to me.
I don't think that's correct. That correction needed to happen here. They probably do. They probably are superfluous. Ultimately, if there are far better options of gameplay that it does not include those options, they are completely worthless. If not all options in the game feel equally important and equally possible to level up with and equally possible to get value out of, the thing that is less valuable than the other thing is completely worthless and should not be there.
So in a nutshell, my playstyle eventually developed into, okay, I'm
Mhm.
skipping chests because those are worthless. I
Yeah.
run through all combat in the open world because it's unnecessary.
Good
if
game.
gold isn't in my path, I don't go back for it.
Good game so far.
I skip
Amazing.
through sections of dungeons so I can complete them faster.
Yeah.
I skip dialogue and side quests so I can grind the renown faster.
Okay.
I don't go into the cellars anymore, and it's just like, dude, I'm just skipping the game.
Standard MMO player tactics. I feel like these games are now made for MMO players that complain that there is no way to skip the entirety of the leveling system, the leveling process. This is what the games are made for. Games are made for people who speedrun and then complain about difficulty, or speedrun and then complain that they don't understand anything about the game, or they don't remember the story, or the story sucks. Well, to be fair, though, story sometimes does suck, but most of the time they just speedrun past it. Same with WoW players, actually. There's a lot of WoW players who were told, like, oh, you need to go into the... you just need to go past the entire story and go into dungeons. And then they don't understand anything that happens, and they don't have no attachment to the story. And then they also say, other people, that they just speedrun the story. And nobody actually understands that there is storyline there that is interesting in WoW.
So, you're saying games are made for game reviewers?
Kind of, yeah. And also try-hard, sweaty children that spend the entirety of their life in one game and then say, portray this kind of like tribalistic, almost ridiculous outlook on games. That if you dare to play any other game in the same genre, you automatically betray the game you've been playing so far. That is like the same thing. How dare you play Final Fantasy XIV? You betrayed WoW. How dare you play WoW? You betrayed Final Fantasy XIV. The same kind of mentality.
I'm just skipping past all this shit. This is the game. All right.
That is the game, yeah. I don't understand why it's not the game. It should be the game. Every part of the game should be the game. You should be able to get value out of the game from every part of the game. I got as much value out of Sunset in Zdorica as I got out of playing Mirage, as I will get out of no doubt playing Eclipse and Aurora. I will get value out of all seasons of gameplay, and I don't think Sunset was bad. I don't think Sunset was worthy of being speedrun. Fuck, I don't even believe Fuyuki is bad. I just played Fuyuki, the Singularity of Fuyuki. I don't think it was bad. I think it was a good prologue, establishing all the conflicts and everything, and why the fuck is this happening? Now, it was decent writing, in my personal opinion. Maybe it's not gonna be amazing when I actually go into amazing episodes, but it was worth the time I spent on it. And I didn't spend any money for it. To be fair, though, part of it probably because it was part of it because I was a streamer and I had a lot of people playing with me, basically, effectively, and comment on it and actually give me advice and shit. But still.
Diablo 4, you've got one last chance to redeem yourself.
Okay.
And that's with this story.
And now it is the most underwhelming thing about the story, about the game.
Is it any good?
One of the most underwhelming things.
Well, I'm pleased to say that the opening cutscene is pretty
true.
Fucking awesome.
True.
It begins with some grave robbers who are in way over their heads. They stumble across a power, the likes of which they can't even comprehend. And immediately the game establishes that sense of terror and fear that was sorely lacking in Diablo 3. Then your character arrives in a town, you clear a dungeon of demons out for them.
Yeah.
You head back and start celebrating with the townsfolk when all of a sudden, oh shit, you're poisoned.
Oh
This guy
shit.
brings you to a shack where they perform some kind of satanic human sacrifice
Yeah,
ritual,
yeah.
and it's like, okay, all right. You got me invested.
Yep.
So while there are some decent moments here and there, after the intro,
There are cutscenes, Pengi, 2 of them actually.
introduction, the story takes a fucking nosedive, like Amelia Earhart.
Yeah.
The beginning and end of Diablo 4 are the game's strongest parts, narratively, likely because there are only 2 pre-rendered cutscenes that sandwich the rest of the story.
2. One at the start of the game, one at the end of the game. I saw one cutscene. The rest is just awkwardly looking at 2 sprites that are not moving at all, talking, occasionally doing a thing, and then walking into the sunset.
Almost everything that happened in the middle is just a blur to me, which is strange because the setup for the plot is very interesting. You've got Lilith and Anarius, an angel and a demon who created Sanctuary. This is the first time we've seen like an archangel and a demon form some kind of an alliance. They seem to be the only entities on each faction with a desire to end the war between heaven and hell, or at least escape it. One of the major issues with the story is the parts that don't include Lilith, Mephisto, or Anarius. Or
Look at this. This is the usual cutscene. This is how the usual cutscene works. You mother's chosen. You'll see soon, bro. The seeds have been sown, soon will bear fruit. Galam will reborn, and so will.
that don't include Lilith, Mephisto, or Anarius are
Dunk.
terribly mundane.
Cutscene. Dun, 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 dun. Epic storytelling.
Characters are swapping in and out, and they get
Sit
killed
down.
off. You know, the scene after they're introduced. Some of them I even forget their name, like this guy who was in the tree, Nafane. I totally forgot he existed until I went back and watched my own footage. I think Diablo 4 story is further proof to me that Blizzard's style of writing has deteriorated severely in the last decade. You know, if you compare the end of act cinematics in Diablo 2 to 4, I mean, it's a major difference.
Now, we are truly alone. The creators of Sanctuary, angel and demon, father and mother, are dead. I heard later that he was defeated. And that the Soul Stone were destroyed in Hellforge. All except one.
The big difference is in Diablo 2, they actually showed the events that Marius, the narrator, is talking about, as opposed to just like some boring static shots of like.
This is the finale of the Alpha. This is how it looks. This is how it looks.
First walking through the snow. It's why I seen like this.
Lilith and Astaroth had made a deal.
Look at this.
And we were the ones who would pay the cost.
Is nowhere near as interesting or engaging as this.
Take it. I'm glad this is finally over, Tyrael. Everything happened exactly as Lilith wanted. We just danced to her music.
It's why I'm more interested in this.
Oh, I failed, Tyrael. I couldn't do as you asked.
And not so much this.
Okay. Okay, that's just bullshit.
His mind on grief, not her. Not answers.
Who's speaking?
What the stone has done to me.
Playing Diablo 4 is like dating a pretty woman.
Uh-huh.
The kind that the longer you talk to her, the more you realize she has the personality of a tampon. What?
Yeah, same thing. Like dating a really handsome guy who's like a really big muscle dude, but then you talk to him and then you realize that he has nothing in his head except wind. There is nothing there. There is absolutely nothing there beyond wind. It just goes. There's nothing there.
Wide as an ocean, deep as a puddle.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there are hundreds of NPCs and several different towns, but the world design of Diablo 4 is a byproduct of the gameplay, less so the story. Now, what do I mean by that? What are those words that are coming out of your mouth, Act-Man? Let me explain. The open world isn't there to service some kind of overarching or branching narratives. It's to create a big-ass map that the developers can litter with tons of activities to keep players busy and keep them grinding. You might have noticed that almost none of the optional dungeons in this game have any sort of story or history behind them.
That's lame.
I find the most immersive game worlds are those that tell a story while I'm playing.
Show, not tell. That is the oldest fucking rule in the book at this point that nobody uses, and somehow everyone says, "Oh, they talk about for half an hour at the start of the game. That means they have story. It's a good story. You just read it. You should just read it. If you didn't read it, that's bad. You don't understand the story. You didn't invest in the story. Yes, I read it. It didn't tell me anything. I did read it.
Through them." Now, if you want to understand what's so wrong with Diablo 4's world, we need to look back at the first game, because it's the polar opposite of everything Diablo 4 is trying to be. I think Blizzard knows that Tristram is the most memorable location in the series, because in every sequel they find a reason to take you back there. The thing is, Blizzard doesn't seem to understand why Tristram is such an iconic and memorable location. Oh yeah, the music does some pretty heavy lifting.
The music is always good. The music is still pretty good in Diablo 4. I can say that for sure. The music is still pretty good. The music is not really what's the thing that makes the game shine. The music enhances it. The music enhances the story. The music enhances the emotion and everything. It just enhances. It never makes it. If you wanted to just listen to music, good music, you just listen to good music. You won't play the game. It's not how it works, unfortunately.
But the main reason comes down to this phrase.
Okay.
Less is more.
Less is
Bigger
more.
Isn't always better. Just ask my gargantuan penis. Diablo 1 took place in a single location, Tristram. And there were 8 characters that lived there, a couple cows, and a cathedral that led down to hell where the bad guys were. Each character offered a combination of advice, exposition, and insight for the player. Whenever you got a quest in Diablo 1, you could ask each of the 8 residents about it. This added important context and massive build-up to each quest.
Yep.
I saw what Farnham calls the Butcher as it swathed a path through the...
I feel like I find it fascinating how limitations of systems and limitation of game production made people be very creative about the way they approach things. Diablo 1 was made long ago, so they had to be creative. There was no technology to display all of these NPCs, all of these convenient items on all these convenient locations. So they made it in one town with all these NPCs that are just there, but they overloaded those NPCs with so much personality and presence and relevance that when you look at blacksmiths, for example, again, Diablo 4, blacksmiths, they're absolutely relevant. They're absolutely relevant.
Last week I was looking at the original Pokemon games. They fit on less than a megabyte.
Yeah, exactly. They have system limitations. And so they had to work around those system limitations. And now, considering the technology went so far ahead, they don't have those system limitations. They don't have to be creative. They can just do the same bullshit tactic of just plastering the same tired tropes into the same games. And not make them in any shape form standard.
My PFP is bigger than the entirety of Pokemon Red.
Yeah, exactly. My model my model is bigger than most old games in size. It's just heftier than most games that came before 2000s and even a little bit into 2000s.
Cleaver as large as an axe, hewing limbs and cutting down brave men where they stood.
I know more than you think about that grisly fiend.
Mm-hmm.
His little friends got a hold of me and managed to get my leg before Griswold pulled me out of that hole.
Sure, the voice acting is cheesy as fuck, but you remember it.
I'll put it bluntly. Kill him before he kills you and adds your corpse to his collection.
By the light, I know of this vile demon.
Yep.
I don't know what he used to slice open his victims, but it could not have been of this world. Beware if you plan to battle this fiend.
The Butcher is a sadistic creature that delights in the torture and pain.
Like, sure, it's not professional voice actors. It's not Matt Mercer that basically makes a fantasy character number 4 because of how good he sounds. It's really cheesy, a little bad, but you remember all of these characters, don't you?
You have seen his handiwork in the Drunkard Farnham.
Mm-hmm.
Big Cleaver killing all my friends. Couldn't stop him. Had to run away.
So everyone in town is telling you this guy is a big fucking menace, but from their own unique perspective.
Yep.
This added realism to the world of Diablo and its characters. It created build-up and tension to.
That's why Butcher is constantly being reused in Diablo series too, because he was so memorable. The entire quest with him was so memorable that they still have to use him over and over and over again. But he loses more personality as he goes along, because it's just at this point the hell apparently has a cloning factory for butchers.
Every quest and every boss fight. There's a reason Blizzard keeps bringing back the Butcher in newer Diablo games, and it's because this quest from the first game is just that iconic. But why?
The spirits of the dead are now avenged.
Well,
apparently not, because he's back over and over and over and over again.
Part of the reason is for every quest in Diablo 1, you get to consult the same 8 characters. This makes the plot easy to follow, as it's not being communicated through like 40 different characters. Diablo 4 is like the exact opposite. It feels like once again the designers had to justify this open world design by having you constantly jumping from one area to the next. No one person, quest, or area is given enough screen time to become truly memorable, aside from a handful of moments.
I personally believe that it's best if you have a big vast world, it's better to have characters that travel around said world. If you have a big world that you travel through to have the story, include a traveling mercenary that you keep running into and experiencing the story of as you go along, or keep the character's story arc consistent within the area, and give them enough time to actually shine within their little small character arcs that they should have. More does not mean more often does not mean better. That is like basically it. If you don't have anything to do with the character, don't add the character. There's no meaning to it.
Prime example of this style of writing is the Tree of Whispers. It's an ancient tree.
It looks cool.
With the severed heads of those who pursued its knowledge. Now, that sounds fucking awesome.
That sounds awesome.
But this place has barely any build-up to it at all. You can't really ask characters to prod their knowledge of it. Lorath and Donan might have a couple lines, but it's nothing deep. So
While standing in the mud, Lilith might observe. She found a gateway to hell, and she approaches with the key.
So it makes this ultra cool area of the game feel far less important than the world is trying to make it out to be. What it boils down to is, ironically, the original Diablo, which takes place in a single town consisting of 8 characters, tells a vastly more interesting, relatable, and immersive story than...
To be fair, though, you have to have some sort of talent to actually be able to tell a cohesive storyline using very little amount of characters. That is very true. You have to do that. It's not impossible to do, but you have to be very in touch with your world to do it. If you're not, you're left with Diablo 4 writing. And you can tell a big epic storyline. You look at Mass Effect, lots of characters there, but they all had meaning to them. They all had a role to them. They all participated in something. They all were important to something. And if they weren't, they were overall important to someone within the story who was important.
Now, maybe that's just nostalgia squirting out my ass, but let me convey this point with a question. Can you name a single blacksmith in Diablo 4?
I'm gonna retaliate with this point. If nostalgia makes you think about better times than the times are now, nostalgia is not bad. People who say nostalgia as an argument against your argument are fucking stupid. Because you would not have nostalgia for things that were worse than they are now. You would not have I remember when the game used to be worse. You will not have a nostalgia for games that are worse than they are currently. You will only have nostalgia for things that are better than they are currently. You will not sit in your new luxurious home and be like, I remember when my dad was an abusive piece of shit. No, you won't. Also, no, I don't know any single blacksmith in the game. Even though I played it. I don't remember any character, honestly. Any character whatsoever. Or the story, much of it.
That's what I thought. Remember Griswold?
Whoa, what can I do for you?
Of course you do.
Mm-hmm.
Now run with me on this for a second. Instead of having one blacksmith who's like an actual character that you can talk to, who also repairs your shit and sells you stuff, we now have 75 soulless, empty blacksmiths scattered across the land of Sanctuary, none of whom play any role in the story or contribute at all to the world building.
That's dumb, but sure.
This doesn't apply to just the blacksmiths in the world of Diablo.
Also characters, vendors being basically the vending machines of the game that has no input to the world whatsoever, is the lamest development that has ever happened. I don't know. I don't really understand why quality of characters is not being prioritized over the amount of NPCs. Like, why do you need so much NPCs? If anything, making all these fucking models for the characters is a bigger pain in the ass than actually making less character models and adding more personality for them. I don't make sense. It's just okay.
It applies to all vendors in the game. They serve no purpose outside of gameplay, which I guess it's fine. Like, it's lazy, but it's fine.
Not only lazy, it's not even lazy. It's even more. It's spending too much effort on shit that doesn't make sense to spend it on.
But do you see the conundrum? Since the
to be fair though, at least making more models is tedious work that does not require more efforts, but spending less time making models and more time writing better characters, it does require more effort. So I retract my point. It makes sense.
Diablo 4 is an open world game. If you take out 70 blacksmiths and leave only 5 or whatever, then it becomes tedious to find them. And Blizzard clearly didn't want to go through the effort of writing each blacksmith to be an actual character, and I don't blame them for that. My point is that in so many ways, Blizzard seems to sacrifice world building for an
if the world is irrelevant to the story, don't make it an open world.
Open world. Now, call me crazy, but I think vendors and merchants play an important role in a video game, especially if that game is an RPG.
They must have a personality to them. They must have a reason to be there. They must, because these are the characters you talk with the most. People you buy shit from are the characters you talk with the most.
Don't get...
Anyway, yeah.
Get yourself killed. Neither of us want to see you go hollow.
See? Yeah. even if they don't talk to you much, they have to have a certain personality to them, something that makes you see the vendor in the area and go, oh, I remember that guy. He's so quirky and interesting.
Got something that might interest you.
I think Resident Evil Village did it very best with Duke. Duke was really interesting.
No, I think all NPCs should play some kind of role in
Yep.
an RPG
I agree.
or offer a slice of life.
Mhm.
But outside the characters in the main story, most of the people who inhabit Sanctuary aren't memorable or important at all.
Yeah.
Therefore, neither is Sanctuary itself.
Yep.
I don't know, man. The scaling difficulty and restrictive skill trees make the core gameplay feel extremely easy, boring, and repetitive. And with some slight changes that they'll probably never do, would improve the game vastly. The loot is uninteresting. Most of the game's content is shit I just ended up skipping trying to get to the fun part.
Yep.
But I never really got to the fun part.
There's no fun part.
For all
Okay, incorrect. There is a fun part, but you have to grind very hard and very tediously to get to it. I'm sure there's a fun part. I'm sure there's content that people in the game development cared for and devoted their attention to and efforts to, but it was nothing that actually made sense. It was not the early game.
For a massive open world game with tons of replayability, content, and depth, it ends up being no deeper than the puddle in my backyard.
Yeah.
And that is why Diablo 4 is so bad. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did, and subscribe to the Act-Man.
Yeah, subscribe to Act-Man. It makes sense. Okay. No. That's my playlist. Okay. We're gonna go into this video. But how do you like it? Do you want me to talk less? By the way, chat. Do you want me to ramble less? Because it's been one video for nearly 1 hour, and I spent 2 hours on it. And I spent talking 2 hours on it. Should I maybe shut up a little bit? Should I maybe shut up just a little bit? Because
I like the rambling.
We're gonna be here forever if I'm gonna be rambling like that.
That might just be me.
Pretty good. Okay, I will continue talking. Give me a moment. I need to go grab food. I'll be right back. God fucking damn it! I ended up talking about this game for fucking about this video for 2 hours. God fucking damn it. Okay, I'll be right back.